folks, good day to you one and all, and welcome to our favorite spot on a Wednesday night. And, well, it's going to be a biggie. It's always a biggie. MSA-backed Porsche 992 Cup support event, and then the MSA GTE Series for 2022, round number 6. Joining us, Mike's side, it's the man from Yo Stasi Rage Productions, FC Nibert. FC, good evening to you.
Lovely to be back here, Gaza.
And the voice of West Brom's Motorsport, the man that has got a honours award from Killarney International Raceway for services to motorsport and Killarney. Well done. The one of only 4 people to get an award like that in the 75 years of Killarney International. Frankie Innes, good day to you.
Yes, Gary, good day. And in saying so, Gary got his honours award on Monday evening as well. But yes, we are in the USA, in New York, at WATKINS GLEN, with the weather looking pretty cool. 18 degrees out there, partly cloudy, 16k an hour wind. And FC, this is going to be interesting stuff. This one brought to you by Canvas Intelligence and ASAP Motor Spares and Second Gear Productions.
I think that, FC, it's just right that we start with our elderly statesman, Cyril Ginsberg. Fantastic to have Uncle Cyril back out on circuit again.
Yeah, lovely to have Cyril out on the circuit. And he is the man that you see on your screen there in the number 1 Porsche. Busy attempting to put up a time here from WATKINS GLEN, taking the what is known as the long course at WATKINS GLEN with the famous boot complex of corners. Next man that is out there as well, trying to put up a time, Kyle McCarthy in the 64 Porsche, the Sujin Commercial Landlord's car, and then Troy Dolenshek in the Sujin Properties number 20 Porsche out there as well.
Right, Peter van Zyl also busy making his way around in the number 19 Porsche. All the guys out there on the qualifying lap. Then Colin Pitt in the 75 outfit, busy making his way through. And then Doug Gerber. We welcome Doug Gerber to the Porsche Cup out there in the 17. And then the 43 out there of Dalen Weiss, busy making his way around WATKINS GLEN International Circuit.
Yeah, Dalen Weiss out there. Then Willem Pinaar out in the Castrol GTX Porsche, busy working his way around the circuit with Robbie Teens out in the Teen Bolt 014 Porsche, shall I say, the 14 Porsche. Then we've got Stephen Koenig out there, the man that won our commentators competition last year on Second Gear Productions, and he's out there on track this evening as well. And Stephen McCarthy in the number 18 Porsche, also putting up a lap time.
Yeah, this is Gene Property and SS Racing. Then we've got the Batmobile out there of Andre Steenkamp in that famous number 46 of his. And then Elroy Oliver busy making his way around in the K&N sponsored Porsche.
Yeah, further bit down the road, the 222 of Wayne Camage and the Mercury Systems Porsche out there as well. Busy working his way around the circuit with Herman Lazarus in the customary blue cheapercars.co.za 69 Porsche out there. And then we've got Gerald Moget in the Gulf Oils number 41 Porsche working his way around as well.
Gerald Moget is our Frenchman that lives out there in Switzerland. Then Stephen Duplessis in the black number 6 Porsche, busy working his way around the Glen. And then the team heaped together Porsche of Janeman Prius.
Yeah, Prius out there in the number 5 with Yaz Samai out in the number 7 Skoll Porsche making his way around the circuit as the first times start appearing on the board. Scott Montanari goes the fastest with a 144.92. Everybody else that comes in after him, the slower up until now. So Scott Montanari doing a good job. Half a second quicker than anybody else at this stage on the track.
Gerald Ferry drops all the way down, and Luke is in pole position now, provisional pole with a 144.809 is that young man, Troy Dolenchek.
Yeah, Dolenchek putting up the fastest time, moving Scott Montanari down to second position. Gerald Ferry was in third as Ati Nachel posts a time of 145.302 to claim that third spot, and that bumps Gerald Ferry down to fourth. Behind him, Peter van Zyl in 145.857 and Kyle McCarthy with a 145.878.
Yeah, Troy Dolenchek hasn't taken part in any of this previously, so this will be the youngsters' first outing in the Porsche Cup, and we know that the names to watch out for there will be Scott Montanari, Ati Nachel, and Gerald Ferry, even Peter van Zyl as well, but they're going to literally feel the wrath of this young man, Troy Dolacek, as the Castrol GTX outfit of Willem Pienaar makes his way around. He's currently so far in that 8th position is Pienaar.
Yeah, Pienaar in that 8th place. Right behind him, Robbie Teings on a 145.993. That's the man on your screen right now trying to improve his time. Then Gerald Moget currently sitting there in that 10th position on a 146.101. And he's just ahead of Stephen McCarthy. McCarthy can still improve here from that 11th spot that he is holding on the grid. But all of them have to pick up their socks if they want to catch Troy Dolacek.
Only 2 drivers out in the 144s. That's a high 44s. That's Dolacek and McCarthy. 144.8 and 144.9 for Scott Montanari. That's quite right. As Dougerbe sits out there in 13th position with a 146.379 so far.
Herman Lazarus currently holds 14th place with that 146.387 with Wayne Camage in 15th, also trying to improve on his time, currently sitting on a 146.424. And Elroy Oliver just posts his first time on the board with a 146.597.
Yeah, then Jas Samai in the asymmetric racing outfit sitting there in that 17th position with a 146.995. Colin Plitt so far in P19 with a PB there of a 147.260 is Colin Plitt.
Dalen Weiss, the next man out there in 20th place with a 148.298. And the elder statesman Cyril Ginsberg out there in 21st with a 149.805.
2 guys that have not put up a time yet. One of them is this man, it's Janeman Prius, and as you can see, there is no time for him on the board. That's because he does not have a clean lap yet. And then the Iron Man, Frankie, Jason Coetzee.
Yeah, the man from Durant Motorsport, he hasn't taken part in any of this yet, so watch out there for Jason Coetzee this evening. And for Troy Dolacek, we're so used to watching Scott Montanari, Ati Nagel, Gerald Fourie, and even Peter van Zyl, but they are going to see and learn about Troy Dolacek and that man you see on screen there from Durant Motorsport, namely Jason Coetzee. And I'm sure Garth de Villiers will be keeping an eye out there on his man, Jason Coetzee.
Yeah, it'll be lovely to see what times Jason can post here. He's got to catch that one of Troy Dolacek at the lead. But riding on board with the youngster up in that number 20, Sujin Properties and ASAP Motor Spares, Porsche, as he makes another run there. It's a 144.7, so not fast enough to break his original time. But he is in provisional pole. Let's see if anybody else can improve. The closest person at this stage, Scott Montanari, on a 144.921. But what can Jason Coetzee do? He did 5th with a 145.557.
Only 2 drivers, as I said earlier on, in the 144s. That's Dolacek and Montanari. There we see Gerald Fourie, currently there in that 4th position. Ati Nagel is in pit lane. Gerald Fourie with a 145.440 with 8 minutes out of the 10 done so far.
Right, as Frankie says, there are 8 minutes to go, or 8 minutes done, shall I rather say, with about 1 minute 40 seconds left in this qualifying round. Can anybody improve on their times and move up the ladder? We'll have to wait. Oh, Stephen Duplessis getting it all wrong, putting that number 6 imitation Batmobile all in the wrong direction as we jump over to Peter van Zyl, who's currently in that 8th position.
Yeah, with the 145.857 is Peter van Zyl, as he sits there in provisional P8. Dolacek with another fastest lap out there with a 144.695 for Troy Dolacek. I think he knows he's done enough to keep it in pole. However, Montanari is done a 144.921, not too far behind him. So with a minute left, Scott can have to really gun it if he wants to steal that pole position away from Dolacek.
Yes.
Keep in mind, FC, that the guys have got an outlap and then 2 flyers. And as you see, the writing coming up on the right-hand side, pit lane means they've completed. Jason Coetzee pops up onto the 2nd row of the grid. As you see the names with pit lane alongside it, it means they've completed their 2 laps and they now kicked off by the computer, waiting for the opportunity for them to get onto the grid.
Yeah, Jason Coetzee improving his time to sit on the inside of that 2nd line. Yes, Samai, as I was about to say, also improved phenomenally, moving up into that 8th position with a 145.854. Riding on board with Peter van Zyl, let's see if he can improve his time. in the number 19 Porsche, as it looks like he's busy going slower. That means he's done enough. He says he's happy with that 9th position.
So the 10 minutes qualifying session is up, the checkered flag is out, and as you see those 23 drivers on your screen, that is how they're going to pull away. Right, Dolacek and Montanari will be in row 1. Row 2 FC will be Jason Kutsia and Ati Nagel.
Yeah, then on the inside of row number 3, you have Gerald Fourie. Alongside him, the Batmobile of Andre Steenkamp. Then Stephen Duplessis on row number 4 with Yaz Samai on his outside.
Row 5, Peter van Zyl and Carl McCarthy. Row 6, Gerald Mouget and Willem Pina. And row 7, Janneman Prius and Robbie Teens.
Filling up row number 8 is Stephen McCarthy. Alongside him, newcomer Doe Gerber in that 16th place, with Herman Lazarus in row number 9, with alongside him Wayne Camage. Elroy Oliver in 19th position with Colin Plitt alongside him, and Stephen Koenig, Dalen Weiss and Cyril Ginsberg bringing up the rear of the field.
So all 23 of these Porsche 992 Porsche Cup drivers are out there on the grid, with this one about to get underway shortly. The man in pole position, Dolacek, and trust me, if he leads at the end of lap number 1, and if there are any pit stops, he's going to be a hard man to catch. And I think Montanari will also realize that Jason Kutsia is going to be all over his coat tails as well.
Now, it would be interesting to see if these guys are actually going to do a standing start. It looks like they're all lined up in positions there as they all start to grid. It looks like we are waiting for one. That's Wayne Camage and Yaz Samai as well. So waiting for 2 drivers to make their way to their pit boxes. And then once everybody is ready, this race will be underway.
So we're about to go green shortly here at Watkins Glen. We've got 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, a slight pause and a go. 35 minutes of a Porsche Cup action. A lovely start off the line by Montanari. And as Montanari has an awesome start, there is a major FC pile-up towards the tail end of the grid.
Yeah, that was a massive incident at the back there, as Dolacek also seems to have picked up problems as he's tumbling down the order. He had pole position, and he's just all of a sudden started dropping down the field. That puts Scott Montanari in that lead with Ati Nagel right on his case. Jason Kutsia currently in 3rd, and Gerald Fourie in 4th.
That is your top 4 at this point in time. Then it's Yaz Samai, Andre Steenkamp, all the way down to Dolacek. It sits there in that 11th position. He's going to have to move it from there. Does Dolacek, Ati Nagel in that 2nd place. Already you see Montanari and Nagel beginning to pull the pin there on the Ironman Jason Kutsia. He's been hassled there by Gerald Fourie and Yaz Samai as they busy work their way through. There is Gerald Fourie right on his case as Yaz Samai. They're darting all over the place, and right there with them is Stephen Duplessis.
Now, Stephen Duplessis right there with him, but there's a big fight here between Carl McCarthy and Troy Dolacek ahead of him. Then the whole field behind them, Peter van Zyl, Gerald Mouget, Janneman Prius, all of them racked, stacked and packed in there as it is battle time out here in the Porsche 992 Cup cars. The pre-show to the MSA series, but man, oh man, is it one hell of a show.
Well, early on I said they're going to feel the wrath of Troy Dolacek. Watch this young man. He's now up into P7. He was down in that 11th position at this point in time. And he sits in there behind Stephen Duplessis. Gerald Mouget coming through. Look at the intervals. There's nothing between 4th all the way down to about 17th position out there on the grid, as they're now on lap number 2, busy working their way around Watkins Glen International Circuit.
Gerald Fourie must have picked up some problems there, as he might have been involved in some incident as he dives into the pits. But the rest of the field still running quite nicely as they go through the S's up into the backstretch. It is your race leader from Scott Montanari, Ati Nagel, Jason Kutsia, but riding on board there with the 6th place man, the number 6 Porsche of Stephen Duplessis.
Well, I'll tell you what, the guys are going hell for leather. Dolacek is nailing him. Dolacek is going to nail him. They are side by side as they work their way through the inner loop. Now they'll go into that inner loop. Then from there, they dive down through the outer loop. That's where they're going now. Then down the carousel, also known as the chute, before they turn left into the boot area. First of all, into the laces, and then into the toe of the boot.
Yeah, as they go around that corner, they are now down into the toe, heading towards the heel of the boot. Riding on board there with Andre Steenkamp. He's right up against the back bumper there of Steven Duplessis. Not a lot in between it. It's about a half a second from Troy Dolanchek all the way down to Peter van Zyl. Peter van Zyl, actually the man who's the closest of anybody, trying to make a move there on Kyle McCarthy. As he does so, you can Kyle McCarthy getting it all wrong.
Well, McCarthy losing out big time there with coming through there was Doughab, but also making a move there right in there behind Doughab. Look at that battle scar, Robbie Teen's outfit. As we have a look at Kyle McCarthy in that 64 car. That's a replay here. A big thanks to Canvas Intelligence and ASAP Motor Spares. And that is Kyle McCarthy doing a 360 and facing back towards the Omco barrier.
But yeah, riding on board with your race leader, Scott Montanari. He's got just under a second lead there on Ati Nachel in this race. 35 minutes in this race. We're about 4 minutes into the race now, as Jason Kutsia has already worked his way up into that third position. But the man on the move is Troy Dolanchek, who's just 1.9 seconds behind him.
And he's got the fastest lap as well. There's Troy Dolanchek. And he dropped all the way down to P11 at one stage of the game. Now he's there in the top 5 in P4. There's Yasamai. He's only 0.3 of a second ahead there of Steven Duplessis. And right on Duplessis' heels is Andre Steenkamp. There you ride aboard Duplessis. Right ahead of him is Samai. Right ahead of Samai is that blue Porsche of fourth place man, Troy Dolanchek. Steven Duplessis having a look there at Samai. And Dolanchek is now running away from Samai. He's 1.3 seconds ahead of Yas Samai.
All right, let's have a look at some of the incidents that have happened to date. Right at the beginning of the race, it was called that there was this massive accident that happened at the back, and there you can see Colin Pitt was one of the people that was involved there. The other vehicle that was involved with that one is Herman Lazarus. That's Herman Lazarus on the right-hand side, and yep, that's what spits him out of that one. And then I do believe probably it's Stephen Koenig was coming through from behind. So see where Stephen comes through, and then he gets tagged in that one as well. So Stephen had nowhere to go, and that took him completely out of it. We saw incident with Wayne Camage that got caught up in a bit of an incident, and then also Dalen Weiss a little bit later on. Dalen Weiss working his way with the 43 car, just ran it very, very wide. And with these rear-wheel drive Porsches, if you just get the wheel slightly out of line, that takes you completely off and looking at the scenery. Another incident that happened was with Carl McCarthy. Now we know that Carl McCarthy was the man that got tipped from behind the underbraking that turned him right around. And luckily he ended up on the inside of the track, so it didn't get affected by anybody else. And then LB Statesman Cyril Ginsberg, he had a bit of an incident as well. Let's just see what happened with Uncle Cyril. Oh, he just went miles too hard into the corner, and that cost him back to the front end of the field.
Would one call that a senior moment?
Yeah, shame, Uncle Cyril Ginsberg. He loves his racing. Gary, another driver that was involved in that start line incident was Robbie Teens. I picked up the Teen Bolt car, was also involved in that situation, but that was 4 laps ago. We are now on lap number 4 with Montanari, Jason Kutsia, Ati Nachel, Troy Dolanchek, and Steven Duplessis being the first 5. We ride aboard here with Ati Nachel in that third position, 0.5 of a second. In there just behind Durant Motorsports, Jason Kutsia. That is there in that third position, and just ahead of him you can see, second position, I apologize, and just ahead of him you can see your race leader 1.1 seconds ahead of him, namely Scott Montanari.
Well, yes, I already lost a position to Steven Duplessis, but another man who he might be losing a position to is Andre Steenkamp, who is all over the back of him, just 0.2 of a second. He's right up on that back bumper on the skull car of Yaz Samai. Is he going to try and make a move up on the inside? He dives for that inside line. Samai doesn't cover it off. Early on the brakes goes Steenkamp, late goes Samai. Samai not giving up and running very, very wide. He might actually get an infringement for that one.
Yeah, I could be nailed there for track limits. Robbie Teens had damage on the front end of the Robbie Teens Teen Bolt car that was caused on the opening lap. So Elroy Oliver, a replay here for Elroy. And let's have a look. Oh, Elroy was tagged there. There was a tag and contact made there by Kyle McCarthy.
Yeah, McCarthy making contact there with Oliver. Oliver taking out Pinar in that move. Let's just look at that again. Yeah, there we go. McCarthy making contact with him, and then he goes into the side there of Pinar as Pinar dumps that Porsche into the kitty litter.
So all happening out there right now. It's all about Scott Montanari that's sitting out there in P1. There's Andres Steenkamp in that 7th position. He's calling all over the back end of Yasamai. Dolacek sitting out there in that 3rd position. He's only 0.2 of a second behind Atinachel. That is there. Oh, and somebody's gone. Somebody's got sent packing out there. These guys are racing as hard as they can. We'll have a look, see now who it is as they make their way through. Don't tell me it's Jason Kutsia. Jason Kutsia, it is Jason Kutsia at the Run Motorsports. Jason Kutsia slams the wall, and there you see Nagel and Dolacek go through there as Kutsia hammers the wall.
But Troy Dolacek is there on Ati Nagel. He's got his nose up on that inside. They're side by side going down down the main straight, heading towards the 90. Now it's that hard right-hander into that position, and Troy Dolacek moves up into that 2nd position ahead of Ati Nagel. Nagel tries to defend it and try to claim it back, but he's got to concede and start into that 3rd position.
Making their way out to the SS now. They'll be heading on to that the long back straight of Watkins Glen. Dolacek being crowded here by Ati Nagel. Then they'll do the bus-stop chicane known as the inner loop. They're heading towards that now as, no, they're not doing that inner loop. You just saw the inner loop on their right-hand side. They're making their way through the outer loop. So the inner loop is not coming into play in this race. Normally they do as they race down towards the boot. Now, Andres Steenkamp, I'm noticing there in that 7th position, is all over the back of Yasamai. Samai is all over the back of Duplessis, who in turn all over the back of Jason Kutsia. So they all fighting FC out there for Jason Kutsia's 4th position.
They are fighting, but that means Andres Steenkamp must have made a mistake, because he eventually got past Samai, and then Samai seems to have gotten back into that 6th position. Andres Steenkamp, though, not giving up. He's already back down to 0.4 of a second, right up on that back bumper of Samai. Into braking they go now as Steenkamp desperately tries to get closer to that Porsche of Yaz Samai.
There's a fight out there for Peter van Zyl, 8th position, and Ganneman Prius is only 7/10 in there behind Peter van Zyl. So Prius is all over him. Then there's a fight a bit further down as well. But Ganneman Prius in P9, he wants that position from Peter van Zyl, and he could easily steal that position away from van Zyl, as Van Zyl is nearly 3 seconds behind Steenkamp. So Ganneman Prius still all over the back end there of the Peter van Zyl Porsche.
Well, there's battles all over the show here. We just saw the times there between Doug Gerber and Kyle McCarthy exchange quite rapidly. Doug Gerber, he managed to get past McCarthy. McCarthy then fought back, now starts to pull away again. But Andres Steenkamp seems to have gotten past the likes there of Yaz Samai again, as Robbie Teens made a mistake somewhere.
Yeah, once again, poor Robbie Teens there in the wars. So Doug Gerber in that 13th place. He's having a look at that 12th position being occupied there by Carl McCarthy. There is 0.3 of a second between McCarthy and Gerber, with McCarthy changing lanes and diving all over the place to try and keep Doug Gerber out. Doug has a look up on the inside, but he pulls in there back behind McCarthy once again. It's a lovely, lovely fight out there for that 12th position between Stephen McCarthy and, or should I say, Carl McCarthy, I do apologize, and right behind him, Doug Gerber.
Not bad for newcomer Doug Gerber to battle it out with the best out there in South Africa here in the Porsche 922s. But Robbie Teens, he just made his way past Stephen Koenig, but back to the front of the field there, behind Scott Montanari. Troy Dollenschink is just managing to stay ahead there of Ati Nagel. Nagel not allowing Dollenschink to get away from him that much, as Dollenschink runs it a bit wide coming out of that corner, and Jason Kutsia, he's dropping down quite considerably now. He's about 6 seconds down from 3rd position.
And once again, Andres Steenkamp is ahead there of Yaz Samai. That chop and change about twice in the past, with Samai sitting there in that 7th position, only 0.3 of a second between himself and Steenkamp, and this is the overtaking maneuver. Andres Steenkamp there on Yaz Samai.
That was basically identical to the previous overtake. Same spot, same move, and Samai just not being able to block him off there as Andre Steenkamp now sits there ahead of Samai. Samai not giving up though. He's just 0.2 of a second down from it. He can still defend and try to get back up there, but there's a big fight ahead of them between Stephen Du Plessis and Jason Coetzee for 4th and 5th position. As we look there, Du Plessis right on the case there of Jason Coetzee.
Montanari is in trouble. That's called Troy Dolacek. There are 0.7 of a second between Montanari and Dolacek. That is the fight for the lead. Troy has come all the way down, or back I should say, from being down in P11 after the issue out on the opening lap. And he's fought his way through into 2nd position. And all of a sudden, Montanari will have a look in his mirrors and see the number 20 Suzhim Properties Porsche right on his case there of young Troy Dolacek.
While all that is happening, there's a massive fight for 15, 16s between Robbie Teens and Stephen Koenig. They keep on chopping and changing positions as they're virtually side by side. Robbie Teens going to try and come back at him. He's going to dive for that inside now. But at this stage of the fight, Stephen Koenig looks like he's done enough on that inside line. But Robbie Teens not giving up on it just yet. As Koenig done enough, he runs a bit wide now, leaves the door open there for Robbie Teens. Teens going to come down the straight there and attack the back end of that Porsche as they go down that long back straight.
I'll keep an eye on that one as Stephen Du Plessis is fighting there with Jason Coetzee. He's only 0.3 of a second behind Jason Coetzee. There we go, Dolacek right in there. Behind Montanari, 1.9 seconds behind them. You just see there coming into your picture now. That is Ati Nagel. That is in that 3rd position. We have a look at the helicopter cam there of 1st, 2nd and 3rd. And in that shot you can see that he's right on his back wing there is Dolacek. They are racing now towards the outer loop. My word, these two guys are going like a bat out of hell. The two of them working their way through the outer loop, diving through the carousel, i.e. the chute. That's why it's known as the chute. It drops straight down towards the boot area as they make their way through the laces towards the toe of the boot. And Dolacek FC is crowding the back end there of the Montanari Porsche.
Dolacek making life very, very difficult there for Montanari as they now climb it back up through the hill as he's right up on that back bumper of the Oval Office Porsche there of Montanari, trying to go around the outside, but there's no space on the outside as they go into the main back down towards the next start of the lap. They're almost done with the next lap, lap number 9 here, as Dolacek is desperately trying to get past and putting a lot of pressure there on Montanari.
A little bit of a shoot, then there'll be a left-hander, then they'll drop slightly down-hander into that right-hander, which will take them towards the end of the lap. Heading down towards the end of the lap now. Into that right-hander they go. Now they work their way down the home straight. The pits will be on their right-hand side as they race down the home straight. Dolacek chasing Montanari. Here comes Nagel as they work their way into a turn 1 known as the 90.
Yeah, into the 90 they're going to go now as they cross that start-finish line. That hard 90-degree right-hander. It is in the hands of Montanari still there, but Dolacek is virtually glued to that back bumper. There's less than 1/10 of a second there. It's down to 9/100ths of a second between Dolacek and Montanari. Anything can go wrong for these drivers. That's how close it is at this stage of the fight, but Dolacek just backing out of it a little.
Well, once again, through the outer loop they go. This is P1 and P2. There's a 1/10 of a second between the two of them, and Dolacek is trying as hard as he can. Now, if you have a look at this, Montanari is literally keeping Dolacek up because Ati Nagel in that 3rd position, only 1.7 seconds behind them, is closing the gap there, FC, on the Montanari-Dolacek battle out there.
Yeah, while Nagel is looking at that, there's another massive battle between Stephen Du Plessis and Jason Coetzee. He's just a 5/10 of a second there off the pace of Coetzee as he makes a slight mistake going through that corner and it drops down back a bit. But, dropping down now to Yaz Samai, who's only 0.8 of a second from Andre Steenkamp ahead of him as the rest of the field starts to settle. The only other close battle at this stage, Stephen Koenig and Robbie Teens. They've swapped around again with Koenig just ahead of Robbie Teens.
A lovely little fight there for that 15th position between Koenig and Teens. There's a replay of them going side by side. And will this be the overtaking maneuver? Yes, it is, as Koenig gets that Porsche's nose ahead there of Robbie Teens.
Well, there's another close fight up front there between the guys in the lead as we watch this replay between Stephen Duplessis and, looks like connectivity issues there for Jason Kutsia.
So Duplessis all over the back there of Kutsia as we once again go to that Stephen Koenig, Robbie Teens fight up there for Koenig's 15th position. Koenig in the team, heaped together outfit, but this is the fight for the lead. First, second and third, and look at Atinagel in P3, 1.6 seconds behind them. There's a tenth of a second between Montanari and Dolacek as they make their way around Watkins Glen International Raceway. Once again, working their way out of the outer loop. Slight left-hander dropping down the carousel, i.e. the chute, all the way down into the boot section. Working their way through the Laces FC and into the right-hander known as the toe of the boot. Then a short chute before they head towards the heel of the boot.
Goes for the inside. Is Dolacek going to try and make a move? But no, Montanari closes off that line. But this is actually a brilliant tactic by Dolacek, Frankie. Because if you think about it, these cars aren't as heavy on the aerodynamics as what a Formula One car would be. So following that close behind a car does not affect your own aero that much. But what it does do, you are in the slipstream, which there's a big hole punched in the air in front of you that you can then be able to move through with a lot less drag. So you're using a lot less fuel than the guy ahead of you.
Yeah, talking about fuel consumption, that will be working in the favor of Dolacek at this point in time. Out the final corner, onto the home straight they go. They must be careful for Atinagel, 1.6 seconds behind. The combination of Montanari and Dolacek is Nagel not too far behind them. 8 seconds is Jason Kutsia, and he's been hassled heavily there by Stephen Duplessis, who's done a personal best of a 1:45.816, and Duplessis only 0.4 of a second in there behind Jason Kutsia.
Andres Steenkamp, the next man there behind them, he's about 4 seconds adrift, but he's only got half a second between himself and Yaz Samai not allowing him to get away in that 6th position. And behind him, about 3 seconds down the line, Peter van Sale sits in that 8th position.
There's a fight out there for 11th between Gerald Mouget and Carl McCarthy. We'll have a look at that one now. There's Mouget, there's McCarthy, and 1.7 seconds behind them is Doug Herber. So Doug Herber is now right in there. As a matter of fact, it's gone up to close to 1.3 seconds. Doug Herber, and just ahead of him, that fight between Mouget and McCarthy.
Yeah, Doug Herber not doing bad for his first time out there in this Porsche Cup 922 series out here. But Troy Dolacek still glued to that back bumper of Montanari. He's making Montanari sweat and making him work for that first position.
These guys are going to have to be very careful here for track position. Stephen Duplessis still there with Jason Kutsia. I would have thought by now that Durant Motorsport, Jason Kutsia would have cleared away from him, with Yaz Samai still crowding the back end there of the Andres Steenkamp outfit as they busy work their way around heading towards the end of the lap. But Gerald Mouget has now got not only Carl McCarthy for company, Doug Herber is right there as well. So Herber is fighting with McCarthy for Mouget's 11th position.
Mouget makes a mistake. He runs wide and through goes Kyle McCarthy, losing a position there to McCarthy. Is Gerald Mouget in the Golf oil car, and now he's got to battle with the likes of that lime green Porsche of Doug Herber, who's right on his case as well.
Yeah, just ahead of them is Stephen McCarthy, not too far behind them. There's a replay with Dylan Weiss and Wayne Camage, you see in there, is behind him, and bang, into the Armco barrier goes Dylan Weiss, and that will release Wayne Camage.
Well, look, at that stage, when your car starts losing the tail like that, the only thing you can do is put your hands up in the air and shout, "Wee!" as Doug Herber goes into the pits. And along with him, Stephen Koenig also into the pit area, as Herber is already on his way out again. But back up to the front of this race with Montanari and Troy Dolacek battling it out there for first and second. Dolacek not letting Montanari have any breathing space whatsoever. And then about 1.7 seconds down the road, it's Atinagel.
He's got the best seat in the house there, is Atinagel, because he's 8.5 seconds ahead of Jason Kutsia, only 1.8 seconds behind Montanari and Dolacek. So he's watching these two wrestling it out there for P1 and 2. And if anybody makes a mistake there, he could pounce maybe 1 or even 2 positions. Stephen Duplessis is pressurizing Jason Kutsia, and that, with all respect, I did not expect Jason Kutsia to be battling to pull away. It shows you exactly what a good driver Steven du Plessis is. And Andre Steenkamp behind him in that 6th position is still fighting heavily out there with Yaz Samai.
Yeah, Yaz Samai sitting there in that 7th position in car number 7 behind Andre Steenkamp. He's starting to put a little bit of pressure there on Steenkamp again. Steenkamp has not managed to pull away. He's actually now being reeled in by Samai. Samai sitting in that slipstream. He's going to try and make a move down into turn number 1. No, he's just too far back to try and make a move this time round.
Peter van Zyl sitting out there in P8 is only 3.8 seconds behind this fight you're watching there between Steenkamp and Samai. There he comes out that right-hander, does Peter van Zyl. And he has got Janneman Prius there. Janneman only 1.4 seconds behind Van Zyl. So that is one to watch out for. Let's see if Prius can close it up under a second there to the man ahead of him, Peter van Zyl.
Back to the front of this race. It's Troy Donenschenk playing with fire as he starts weaving to try and find a way around Montanari. Montanari making that Porsche very, very wide. That Oval Office Porsche of Montanari proving to be quite the moving roadblock there for Troy Donenschenk, who's still glued to that back bumper.
Big thanks to Canvas Intelligence and to ASAP Motorspares. A big thanks to Motorsport SA, and then of course to Gary Fleming of Second Gear Productions for the production that we are seeing today. So where are we now? We are with Yaz Samai. That's all over the back there of Steenkamp. 0.6 of a second there between Steenkamp and Samai as we ride aboard the Porsche of the asymmetric racing of Yaz Samai.
Down in 15th and 16th, Gerald Fourie is starting to put a lot of pressure there on Colin Plitt. There's less than a 1/10 of a second as Gerald Fourie makes the move up on the inside there of Colin Plitt. Just as the camera switches over to them, it's Fourie that makes that pass on Plitt.
But that's a replay there of Plitt on your left-hand side, going over that bump in the circuit, and through goes the 99 Porsche of Gerald Fourie into that 15th position.
Right, where are we? 25 minutes into this race, 10 minutes left to go. Will the guys dive into the pits anytime soon as we're still on board there with Donenschenk? 1/10 of a second between the two of them. They're virtually one car. It almost looks like one's hitched to the other one on the tow bar.
One gets a feeling the Donenschenk is just waiting for the right time and the right move, or should I say the right time and the right place to make the move, I should say, there on Montanari. But it has to happen soon because there is just under 10 minutes left, and Atti Nagel has now closed the gap to 1.5 seconds between the combination of Montanari and Donenschenk.
I can tell you a man who's sitting there praying for the guys ahead of him to make a mistake right now is Atti Nagel, because it's so close between Montanari and Donenschenk that the slightest mistake from either one of them will send both of those cars into the kitty litter, and that will hand Atti Nagel a brilliant race win if something like that has to happen.
Atti Nagel, I think, is enjoying himself because he knows he's in a comfortable 3rd position and he's watching this lovely fight out there. He's under no pressure from Jason Coetzee at all. He is Atti Nagel, so he's just sitting back, relaxing, holding sway, keeping it 1.5, 1.6 seconds, and watching what's going on ahead of him. He's got the best view of this fight between Montanari and Donenschenk with the start of lap number 16.
About 9 seconds down the road from Nagel is Jason Coetzee, not really putting any pressure there on Nagel whatsoever. In fact, he's losing time rather than gaining. And now Steven du Plessis slowly but surely starting to close in on him. It looks like certain sections of the circuit, Steven du Plessis actually reels him in. Then at different parts, they actually lose a bit of ground. But it's come down to about 0.7 of a second now for Steven du Plessis getting closer and closer to Coetzee.
Yeah, Andre Steenkamp has still got the Yaz Samai there with him. There is 0.8 of a second between the two of them, fighting it out for P6.
Carl McCarthy, Gerald Berger, and Elroy Oliver have dove into the pits. Last time out, we actually saw guys run out of fuel towards the end of the race.
Yes,
so a lot of the guys trying not to have that happen again as Elroy Oliver goes into the pits now as well.
So Carl, Gerald, and Elroy in the pits, 27 minutes done. They make their pit stops. McCarthy and Oliver busy working their way out the pits as we watch this massive fight for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Montanari, Donenschenk, and Nagel. And I'm telling you this for nothing. Donenschenk backs out of that. Donenschenk will make the move at will on Scott Montanari. I think already he's lined up exactly where and when he's going to make the move on Montanari.
Yeah, definitely there. Dolenchek already knows where he wants to make that move. But now riding on boat with Stephen Duplessis, getting closer and closer to Kutsia. Now it's down to 6/5 of a second between Duplessis and Kutsia. He's now starting to smell blood in the water. He thinks he can actually make a move here to try and get into that 4th position.
And as I said earlier on, I said watch out for Janeman Prius. Look how he's closed the gap there on Peter van Zyl. He's 9/10 of a second. Remember I said, let's see if he can get it under a second to Peter van Zyl. Well, he has done so. He's 9/10 of a second behind Van Zyl. So Janeman Prius is hunting down Peter van Zyl's 8th position.
Yes, Samai also still not letting Andre Steenkamp get away from him. And Willem Pinaar seems to be the man that's getting closer and closer there to Steven Koenig to try and make a move there on the car of Koenig down in that 17th position. Now he's right up alongside him. There's virtually nothing between them. They're side by side. Koenig runs it a bit wide. Can Willem Pinaar make it past him? Who's going to be latest on the brakes? Around the outside goes Pinaar. He's got to settle back into that 17th position.
And Prius and McCarthy are in pit lane. Janeman Prius and Stephen McCarthy FC are in the pit lane for a routine pit stop.
Right, with about 6 minutes in this race, you'll definitely see the guys start diving into the pits. Nobody wants to get caught out like that again to run out of fuel as Troy Dolenchek still sits there behind Montanari. Will these two attempt to try and push it towards the end, or is Dolenchek going to make a move or dive into the pits? We'll have to wait to see. Ati Nagel, he's got the best view in the house, but he's dropping back now. It's down to almost 3 seconds that he's dropped back as they start to catch up to Herman Lazarus.
I wonder if Nagels is saying to himself, listen here, I've got a comfortable 3rd position. Let me go a bit slower and maybe save fuel, that I don't have to do a pit stop. Of course, we won't know exactly what's going on there in his head. All we know is that Jason Kutsia has got in his head, why can't I get away from Stephen Duplessis, the man that's just in there behind him, 7/10 of a second between Kutsia and Duplessis. But I will salute Duplessis, doing a great job as into the pits comes Troy Dolenchek.
Troy Dolenchek dives into the pits, and that should open up the door now. Will Dolenchek now have to do a monster of an outlap, or will Scott Montanari be able to do something on that last lap that he has out there before he comes in? Yes, Samai sitting in that 6th position as Dolenchek and Andre Steenkamp dives into the pits as well.
I just picked him up going into the pit area, and here comes Peter van Zyl. Peter van Zyl making his way into the pit area. That means, will Janeman Prius go past him, or will he also make his way into the pits? I think he has.
Well, Janeman's already been in the pits.
Yes, that's quite right. He pitted there with McCarthy, with Stephen McCarthy.
Oh,
quite right.
Stephen Duplessis almost whacking out Jason Kutsia, but he goes up on the inside of Kutsia. Kutsia is in trouble here because Stephen Duplessis is trying his damnness as he tries to make that move up on the inside of Jason Kutsia.
Well, there's all sorts of action going on there on the track. That's the one that you see there between Kutsia and Duplessis. And then a bit further down as well, Peter van Zyl and Janeman Prius. And then Stephen McCarthy is also having a fight out there with Doe Gerber.
Well, with all the excitement here, we seem to have some technical difficulties as Eskom and the weather and everything plays a role here in South Africa. So South African circumstances bringing to you racing from Watkins Glen in New York.
And it's got very dark at Watkins Glen all of a sudden. I think they forgot to put the stadium lights on here at Watkins Glen, but the race is continuing. We'll have a look as Montanari makes his way into pit lane. And
Ati
so
Nagel,
does Ati Nagel. So we'll do the commentary for you so far, guys, from the leaderboard. And yes, with Dolenchek that's made his way into the pits. They're all coming in now. Jason Kutsia is coming in as well as Stephen Duplessis.
Yeah, all of them diving into the pits there. Will Montanari be able to get out ahead of Troy Dolenchek? Dolenchek, where does he find himself? Yaz Samai moves up the order. He moves up into that 3rd position. He goes past everybody as he's now in the lead of this race. Dolenchek goes up into 2nd. He's ahead of Scott Montanari. Montanari came out of the pits too late, and he's got to settle for that position behind Troy Dolenchek. Now, has Yaz Samai done enough fuel saving throughout the race to stay out of these last 2.5 minutes, or will he still have to stop and lose all those positions?
Yeah, so Dolenchek got the undercut perfectly there on Scott Montanari, and he works his way up into that 2nd position. The big question is, as FC said, will Yaz Samai have enough fuel with nearly 2 minutes to go, or will he have to make his way into the pits? Dolacek will be praying that the Yasamai makes his way into pit lane.
Jason Kutsia has had a horrible outing out here. He was sitting in that 4th position. Now he's just dropped all the way down to 12th. So that's big problems there for Jason Kutsia as he now drops even further down to 13th. He's not moving from his pit box. He is still stuck there in the pits. And I mean, he was battling it out there with Steven Duplessis. And now he just continues moving out. Oh, problems for Kutsia, as the computer now shows he is out of this race.
Yeah, I saw that one. I think he's decided to pull the pin on this one. It's not going exactly his way. So there is a minute and a half left on the clock, as there is 9/10 of a second between Samai and Dolacek, and Troy will fancy having a lunge somewhere at Yasamai.
Well, look, Yasamai is sitting in the perfect seat out there in the lead of this race, but Troy Dolacek is on the move. It's down to 4/10 of a second. Will we see a swap in positions here as they find themselves somewhere out on the circuit, battling it out there for first and second? Now it's 1/10 of a second. We're going to see a move here from Dolacek pretty soon. Is he going to go around? Yes, he does. He takes the lead of this race with Yaz Samai moving down into second place ahead of Scott Montanari.
With 1 more minute to go, Dolacek takes the lead there. He's now 5/10 of a second ahead of Samai. That gap will grow before he gets to the checkered flag. The next question is, with the time busy running out, with 1.3 seconds between Samai and Montanari, will Scott manage to have a lunge at him? It's now 7/10 of a second, so Montanari will fancy that second position.
Montanari goes,
And
he
goes
makes the
there.
move. He makes the move past Yaz Samai, but Samai finds himself in 3rd place. Ati Nachel's done absolutely nothing wrong, but he finds himself in 4th place now, 3 seconds behind Yaz Samai. Samai has pulled out a wonderful thing here, not having to pit. Let's see if he can finish the race. It's 10 seconds left in this race. Then Stephen McCarthy's there behind Kyle McCarthy, Doug Gerber right on their case as well, as we basically reach the end of time here in this race, and we wait for them to cross the start-finish line in their positions.
I think Dolacek has got to do 1 more lap before he sees that checkered flag. And yes, Kyle McCarthy has got Stephen McCarthy and Doug Gerber all over him. Willem Pina has got Stephen Koenig and Andre Steenkamp all over him as well. A big thanks there to Second Gear Productions, ASAP Motor Spares, and a big thank you to our main sponsor, Canvas Intelligence.
Well, Frankie, they've got 1 more right-handed to go before they make it to the start-finish line. Your race leader, Troy Dolacek, 2 seconds ahead of second place, Scott Montanari. Ati Nachel seems like he's got some plans to make before the end of the line as your winner crosses the finish line. Troy Dolacek takes the win ahead of Scott Montanari, who will be in 3rd. Yaz Samai takes 3rd, just ahead of Ati Nachel.
And he's 13.1 seconds ahead there of Stephen Duplessis, who's going to come home there in that 5th position. We'll have a look and see. There the checkered flag comes next to Duplessis' name. He's 15, nearly 16 seconds ahead of Peter van Zyl. That will finish there in that 6th position. 2.7 seconds behind him will be Hanneman Prius. You wait for the checkered flags to get to Van Zyl. There he goes. And Prius will get the checkered flag now. And but McCarthy crosses the line just ahead there of Doug Gerber and Stephen McCarthy.
Yeah, Gerber splitting the 2 McCarthys there. And then Elroy Oliver bringing it home in 11th, followed by Gerald Free. Gerald Maget is 10 seconds down the road. There is still a massive dice going on between Stephen Koenig and Willem Pienaar. They are constantly swapping, but it looks like Pienaar made a mistake as he's now dropping further and further away from Koenig as Gerald Maget crosses the finish line in the 13th position. And next up will be Andre Steenkamp.
Looks like the first 19 cars will end on the lead lap. Steenkamp crosses the line. Koenig crosses the line. And nearly 8 seconds behind him, Willem Pienaar will cross the line in that 16th position.
Herman Lazarus, another 10 seconds down the road from Pienaar in that 17th place. He's 2 seconds ahead there of Colin Plitt. Let's see who makes it to the line. There goes Herman Lazarus to the line. Colin Plitt, the next man through, with Robbie Teings, the last of the gentlemen on the lead lap. 6 seconds down the road, that is Robbie Teings in 19th position.
And Robbie Teings gets that checkered flag. And as FC said, he is the final driver on the lead lap. So 19 cars on the lead lap. Your podium: Troy Dolacek, Scott Montanari, and Yaz Samai.
Yaz Samai, what can we say about that move? Not a single pit stop, caught them all by surprise, just did enough, brought it home in third. Ati Nagel looked sure and set to have a third position.
He did, eh?
And then, unfortunately, he did nothing wrong, but got caught out by that one. Then Stephen Duplessis in fifth, with Peter van Zyl in sixth, Janeman Prius in seventh, then McCarthy being split from his dad by Doe Gerber in ninth, with Stephen McCarthy in that 10th position.
Aldo Oliver and Gerald Ferry rounding off the top dozen, followed there by Gerald Bourget, Andre Steenkamp, Stephen Koenig, Willem Pina, Hammer Lazarus, and Colin Plitt. And driver of the day, FC?
Personally, I would say for the first time in this event,
Let me guess, you're going to say Yasamai.
No,
No.
Doe Gerber, well done.
Yes, he finished in 9th position, and my bad luck would go to Jason Kutsia.
Oh yes, definitely Jason Kutsia. He looked like he was in with a good shot out there. Don't throw away Colin Plitt being unceremoniously taken out right on the green light at the start of the race as well.
So, a big thanks to Canvas Intelligence, big thanks to ASAP Motorspace, to Motorsport South Africa, and to Second Gear Productions for round 6 of the MSA Porsche Cup Porsche 992s.
Well, that was quite an education. With the upgrades that there has been an update on iRacing, we lost the picture completely. But luckily, our SDK system continued to hold on. And, well, I think some commentary in the dark was pretty brilliant stuff. We're going to take a short break, and we will be coming back to you with the MSA GTE series for 2022, round number 6, also from Watkins.
There. Now, a little bit of a bump right there by Ferrari Zarducci. Now he's going to have the draft heading into Blanchimont. Here comes Jens Gusses. They're bumping and banging. Zarducci is going to get pushed out wide right before Blanchimont. They go side by side. Zarducci and Ferrari leaning on each other. Zarducci's got that inside line. Ferrari's got that middle line. Here comes Jens Gusses. Gusses, I think he's going to have to back off right now. Zarducci, early turn in by Ferrari. He's going to go for that switchback move right now. Zarducci defending onto the inside. And Ferrari's got his nose down to the inside. But is it going to happen? It's going to be a drag race right there. It's going to be Ferrari by no. The final corner right there by Roberto Ferrari.
Diving down into the braking zone for the hairpin. Lacherici taking a little bit of a wider line, looking for a crossover. Little bit of sideways action there up in front from Phil Bouchard, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to open the door here for the number 21. He is certainly glozing in a little bit. It's down under 0.2 of a second right now. Does Lacherici... Here he comes. He's going to go for a move on the outside. Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean. Lacherici has the momentum. Is he going to be able to take it to the line? He is indeed by 22 thousandths of a second. Lacherici takes the victory.
Unbelievable. And you were calling it as it happened. He squared up or diamonded the hairpin just a little bit. And then, as you mentioned, Bouchard had that little bobble on the exit. And with that diamonding of that last corner, he got the front wheel straightened out, got to the throttle just that bit sooner.
your line here if you want to win this race. You gotta stay on the inside.
No, Rudy's got the run. He's gonna block it though. Rudy switched to the inside. He can. He's got a wheel.
Oh my goodness.
No.
Two cars
my God.
side by side. It's gonna be Rudy's barely there.
Oh my God.
Drag race to the line. Who's it gonna be?
It's gonna be a drag race to the right.
It's gonna be
Rudy's got it. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. 1/100th of a second.
Oh my gosh.
And look who's going to get in the fight there. Drapkin trying to get his nose up the inside. Just can't get that extra edge. He's there, but he's not.
Three trucks are half a second apart on the final lap. Connor Berry with the slide job, but it looks like Edmondson is wise to it. He cuts back. It's not super effective, though. They're going to be side by side. The inside goes to Connor Berry. Can we see another slide job going the long way around? We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end? Connor Berry by half a tenth of a second. The top three were spread by 0.16 at the line.
Well, folks, we're back with you once again, and oh, what a Porsche race that was. So, for those of you that have just joined us, Mike's side is the man from Rage Productions and Joe Stasi, FC Nivote. FC, good day to you once again.
Yeah, once again, lovely to be back behind the microphone for another thrilling race of the Canvas Intelligence MSA GTE Series.
And with a bit of luck, Frankie, this will be a day race, not a night race like the Porsche.
Was completely dark there at Watkins Glen. Hello, everybody. Yes, Frankie Yennis, Mike's side, together with FC Nivo. And we once again come to you from Watkins Glen, also known as the Glen, well known as the Glen. I think all forms of motorsport that races at Watkins Glen, all the drivers know it as the Glen.
Yeah, situated at close to the town of Dix, just south of the village of Watkins Glen in New York State. The track is a 5.4 kilometers and takes you around some very, very interesting corners known that most peculiar part, if you look at your screens now, that right-hand side known as the boot, that brings you out of the outer loop at the top right-hand side of the track, brings you down to what they call the chute, or it's now called the carousel, into the boot, that short little straight known as the laces. Then it takes you into that almost 180 degree turn at the toe towards the heel of the boot, and then back towards the start of the lap. So wonderful to race out here. Currently hosting a whole gaggle of a motorsport, and the track is owned by NASCAR.
Yes, and operated by NASCAR as well. The IMSA Sports Car Championship is run there. It's a 6 hour of Watkins Glen. They've got the NASCAR Cup Series and the NASCAR Xfinity Series that race here at Watkins Glen. And as a matter of fact, even Indy cars used to race at Watkins Glen back in the day. Formula One raced here from 1961 to 1980 at the same time that they had the Grand Prix at the Glen. That is the Indy cars that raced there from 79 to 81, then 2005 to 2010, and then 2016 and 2017, and then the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series ran there from 96 to 2000, and then to 2000, yes, and then they had one there in 2021. That was last year.
Yeah, a lot of different forms of motorsport has been out at the Glen, and you can say America being the mecca of a motorsport for a lot of fans out there, and Watkins Glen forming a very, very big part of the American motoring history in motorsport.
Yeah, this Watkins Glen, way back GFC, I think it was 1973, a young French Formula One racing driver that was racing for Ken Tyrrell's team at that point in time, and he was a teammate for Jackie Stewart at the practice session before the US Grand Prix. He passed away there at Watkins Glen, and his name was Francois Sever. And that is the track where Francois Sever tragically lost his life way back. If my facts are right, I think it was somewhere in 1973.
1973, that's correct. Yes.
Sure, College of Knowledge. A quick word from our man in the background that's bringing us all the necessary inside information, also based down at Kalani as well. And that's the man from Tiny's Pitbox. Emil, how's it, bud?
Good evening, Gary, it's and Frankie, and honored and privileged to be here tonight, and it should be a very, very interesting racing tonight.
30 seconds to go before we get to the qualifying session. So how does the points lie? The frequent flyer Byron Mitchell sits on 83 points. Julian Familiaris, the man from the Mobile One side of things, on 75. In there behind him, Mr. Luke Lucchese on 74. Jared Babowski, having missed one round, on 72. Then Leighton Ferry, ex-Polo Cup champion, on 67. From Umpi Swart, also a top polo racer, on 58. Then Luke King on 57, going through Keegan Masters, Johan Ferry, and then Peter Hubert as well. And that will bring us pretty much to the end of the practice session. The computer throws everybody off, and as soon as the computer opens up, the guys will be getting back out on circuit, and they will have a 10-minute session. So it's going to be one lap that they will have to be able to do a warm-up. Thereafter, they will have 2 flying laps, and then it will go from there into the end of qualifying, and we will move on and get into the race itself, and that's going to be a 90-minute race. One of the first people that's out on circuit is, in fact, Byron Mitchell, the man that's leading on 83 points, and he's very quick to get out there on track. Julian Familiaris, he's obviously going to be one of the quicker guys out there. Julian also got himself out into the circuit very, very quickly. And then Luke Lucchesi, man that we refer to as Mr. Luke Lucchesi, he is blindingly quick. Is Luke Lucchesi in whatever format he races. And he has not, in fact, come out on circuit yet. He's still sitting in the pits. Is Luke Lucchesi. Jared Boberski, well, I tell you what, he's got an amazing career overseas, and that has caused that he has not been able to take part in all of the rounds, and probably won't be able to take part in all of the different rounds as such. Luke Lucchesi now finds himself out on circuit. There's Luke Lucchesi. I don't see the name of Jared Boberski on my internal telemetry at all, so it looks like that he might not, in fact, be out there. It's nice to see that Leighton Ferree has made it out on circuit well, and that's the colors that he likes to ride in. The 46 car is Leighton Ferree. Now remember, as we said, they're going to be doing that warm-up lap, and then once they have got one warm-up lap underneath the belt, they will start with their flying laps. Should you not get a clear lap, you will not get your name up onto the leaderboard. It will not credit you that one at all. Pretty much the same FC as what we have in Formula One, where if you've gone outside of track limits, it doesn't register that time.
Yeah, and it's policed a little bit better out here in the iRacing format. The computer immediately picks up when you have crossed the track boundaries. So that lap time then gets deleted. You don't get it back, finish it clear. You just have one lap left to try and get that time up on the board.
Will be Swart out on circuit, and well, he won't be happy with the fact that he finds himself just outside of the top 5. Keegan Masters lying in 7th position overall. Oh, he's pushing it very much to the limits. And well, the cars that you can choose from for this series: the Ford GTE, the Chevy Corvette C8R, the Ferrari 488 GTE. Frankly, we've seen the guys down at Killarney with those Ferrari 488 GTEs already, and they are blindingly quick. The BMW M8, the GTE version of that, and the Porsche 911 RSR. Most of the guys going for the Porsche, the second most popular being the BMW, and the third most popular being the Ferrari. So we're just waiting for the first and fastest times to come up. Swart still working his way around to complete his lap. We're going to have Jason Kutsia in there as well, and this is now after the second lap, and Byron Mitchell hits the front.
Byron Mitchell of Durand Motorsport. He's a man out there in P1. Then Julian Familiaris is there in that second place, or should I say he was in that second place, because Byron Mitchell is in that second position, and Jason Kutsia is there in that 4th position so far. So 138.327 for Keegan Masters as he puts that 18 car there in pole position.
Yeah, that number 18 Porsche of Keegan Masters doing the fastest lap of all so far. Now Byron Mitchell will try to improve on that time that he's got. He's got to shave off like 2.5 tenths of a second off of his lap time somewhere to try and catch up there to Keegan Masters. Julian Familiaris currently finding himself in that 3rd position in the BMW on a 138.604 with Jacques Buerta. He finds himself in 4th place with a 138.7, and never mind, Luke Lucchesi moves them all down one. Luke Lucchesi moving up into 4th position on a 138.638.
Yeah, Keegan Masters, well, where did this one come from? Great there by Keegan Masters, sitting out there in P1. Byron Mitchell in 2nd, Familiaris in 3rd. So it's a Porsche from a Ferrari, and then we've got 3 BMWs, and then rounding off the top 6 is another Porsche.
Yeah, it's the Porsche there of Matt Short on a 138.821. Umpi Swart in the BMW finds himself in 7th position so far on a 138.838, with Kutsia, who's just been out there in the Porsche 992s. He's now getting moved down to a 9th position because Keegan, who went in there? Somebody's put up a time now. That's Jacques Buerta. Buerta just put up a time there, and that was good enough for 5th on a 138.7. And Johan Ferree.
Yeah,
also,
remember that the points is 83 for Byron Mitchell, then it goes to 75 for Miliaris, 74 for Lucchese, 72 for Jared Boberski, who I don't see out at this point in time. We all know that he races out in the UK in the British Formula 4 series. I don't think that Jared is going to join us this evening. But the man that's still up there in provisional pole with a 138.327 is Keegan Masters.
Brad Liebenberg's also put up a time there of 138.682 as Luke Lucchese ran it very, very wide out of that corner. And that takes him up into 2nd position on a 138.491.
Yeah, so Luke Lucchese in the BMW is a man on the move as we have a look at the Run Motorsports Julian Familiaris. That is there in that 3rd position so far with a 138.559 for Familiaris. Byron Mitchell in the Durant Motorsport Ferrari in that 4th place so far with a 138.591. Not much between Julian and Byron at this point in time.
I doubt Familiaris will be able to improve on that time because he ran very, very wide out of that one corner. He might get that lap time deleted. Yeah, it's only a 138.7, so not good enough to improve, and that's the end of his 2 laps, and that will not get him any higher up on this circuit at the start of this race.
Yeah, look, Yuri Swartz at this point in time finds himself all the way down in that 9th position, and Leighton Ferree in P10. What we would expect to Run Motorsports Yuri Swartz out there in P9. But there's a couple of hot shots that's all the way down the leaderboard. Swart Ferree, Jason Kutsia, Keegan Campos, Graham Stephen, all the way down that leaderboard. Saud Variawa finding himself down in 23rd position, and he's done a PB there of a 139.838.
Yeah, Rainier Hubert, Corne Breed, all of them have also put up times out there, but nobody's been able to dethrone Keegan Masters as Byron Mitchell moves down Luke Lucchese 1 position as he puts up a time of 138.461. That's close, but not near close enough. Keegan Masters might just have done the lap of his life right on his first try and when he put up that time. I don't think anybody's going to topple him from there.
No, that's Johan Engelbrecht you see on your screen there. He's sitting in provisional 19th with a 139.535 in the BMW. And then the BM of Andrew Thomas out there in 21st position with the time of 139.634, just ahead there of Jan Sparmers.
Just under a minute and a half left in this one. Let's have a look and see who can improve still.
So that is Jan Sparmers you see there with that very loud coloured Ferrari there of Jan Sparmers. His last lap was a 140.053 there by Jan in that 22nd position. But Byron Mitchell, Durant Motorsport Ferrari, 138.461 in P2, and that's not what he needs at this point in time. With the 55 seconds left on the clock, I think he's done enough though to hang on to that 2nd position while he's in pit lane. We all know why. He just decided to shift Watkins Glen to his left. But I think FC pretty much with the 35 seconds left, this is where we're going to see the guys on the grid.
Well, it depends if Luke Lucchese is going to make it through. It's half a minute. There you see where he is on the circuit.
Last corner.
He's just got that last corner. So can Mr. Luke Lucchese put in the front of the grid? Byron Mitchell on his 2nd run, not being able to keep it on track. All eyes on Luke Lucchese.
Stays 3rd.
He's going to stay where he is. So that's as far as he's going to go. Keegan Masters is still out there, and Umpi Swart also coming around the last corner with 4 seconds to go. Will he be able to record a time as he touches up against the wall? Can he moved one position up. No, the time is up, and that's as far as it goes.
Well, yeah, with him clipping the wall there, I think that is what cost him a second, and that is the reason why he does not improve. So, FC, there's the grid. Row 1, Keegan Masters and Byron Mitchell.
Yeah, that is row number 1. Row number 2 sees Mr. Luke Lucchese up in that third spot with Julian Familiaris on his outside. Row number 3 sees Brad Liebenberg in the Ferrari with Jacques Buetta on his outside.
Row 4, Johan Fourie and Matt Shorter. Row 5, Yuri Umpiswat and Jason Kutsia. Row 6, 2021 Polar Cup champion Leighton Fourie, and on his outside is Leon van Wyk.
Right behind them, row number 7, Keegan Campos in 13th with Luke King on his outside. Graham Stephen in row number 8 alongside Raymond Duggan with Peter van der Spey and Noah Hendricks filling up row number 9.
Row 10, Andrew Thomas and Johan Engelbrecht. Row 11, Mike Verrier and Jan Spalmers. Row 12, Saud Variawa. Row 13, Corne Breed and Peter Hubert. And all on his own on row 14 is Swys Hubert.
Yeah, Swys Hubert will have to bring that off the rear of the field to try and make a difference here in this race. As everybody starts moving into their grid positions, then we'll be underway for round number 6 of the Canvas Intelligence MSA GTE series with Keegan Masters and Byron Mitchell leading them off the line.
Well, the safety truck will take them off the line. This will be a rolling start. And if my facts are right, it's 1.5 hours of endurance racing brought to you by Canvas Intelligence, ASAP Used Motor Spares, Second Gear Productions, and all backed by the governing body in South Africa, Motorsport SA.
All right, everybody's starting to fill up their grid positions, waiting for Brad Liebenberg, Peter Hubert, Swys Hubert, and Natim Zamanga, who all need to get into their grid slots as well. Saud Variawa seems to have some problems with that Porsche of his, as it's not a rolling start, it's a standing start here for the guys. As soon as everybody can get into their positions, where are?
Well, I see the safety truck on the track. That's why I presumed it is a rolling start. I think it might just be FC.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Getting off the line.
Well, this is going to be good stuff. And you just look at the names that's there. Keegan Masters. Frankie, if you take the front 5 as to where they are in the championship right now.
Yeah, pretty much as we would expect it. Byron Mitchell is there. Familiaris is there. Luke Lucchese is there. Okay, Waberski is not there. Leighton Fourie finds himself a bit further down. Umpiswat finding himself a bit further down. But most of them in that top 3-4 positions at this point in time, according to the overall points we have so far.
Question. Is the safety car being driven by an AI, or is one of the officials sitting at home driving it from their ring?
The guy's having a jaw there behind that left-hand drive pickup truck, as they call it in America, pickup truck. In South Africa, we refer to it as a bakkie, but in the state, it is referred to as a pickup truck, so that the safety truck is leading them around Watkins Glen. That's going down the back straight. There's the inner loop or the bus stop. Doesn't look like they're going to be using that one, as they now make their way into the right-hander, that is the outer loop. Then they'll be dropping down the chute, also known as the carousel, towards the boot area. That's coming there through the toe of the boot. So FC, we're about to go green shortly here at Watkins Glen for 1.5 hours of GTE sports car action.
Yeah, these guys sitting out there being extremely nervous right about now. They know they're getting towards the end of this warm-up lap, and the next time they come down the main straight, the bakkie will pull off and we'll get racing underway with Byron Mitchell, Keegan Masters, all of them out there. Masters on that pole position with Julian Familiaris, Luke Lucchese on that second row. We'll have to see what happens here. Will they be able to keep it clean, or will we have some incidents?
Right now, it's almost time to go green here at the Glen. A big thanks to ASAP Motor Spares. A big thanks to Canvas Intelligence, Second Gear Talk Shows, Second Gear Productions, and Motorsport SA. We're about to go racing here at Watkins Glen GTE style.
Yeah, one more right-hander to left-hander, it seems. There they go now. We'll get this race underway pretty soon. That bucky will peel off in the not-too-distant future. Got that last turn to go.
Left-hander down the straight, FC, and then the right-hander. That is the final corner of Watkins Glen.
Right, everybody's, their right legs will be jiggling in those rigs right about now. The nerves will be pumping as that bucky pulls off. And we'll have green lights pretty soon as they come down the main straight, heading towards turn number 1, the 90. As they're all bundling up, the green flag is up high, and lights go on, and we are off the line with Byron Mitchell and Keegan Masters side by side. And Mitchell actually got a brilliant start. He's alongside Masters, but Masters has that inside line going into turn, and there's contact. That Porsche being spat out there, that's Jacques Butter, as is the BMW there of, was that Luke King? But a lot of contact at the start of this race, but Keegan Masters holds on. Byron Mitchell, Luke Lucchesi side by side, heading up towards the back straight. It's Masters and Lucchesi up into second, with Byron Mitchell on the attack.
Now, Butter also got caught in that one. He's also dropped down the leaderboard. Leader Jacques Butter finds himself in that 19th position. As we have a look at these guys busy making their way around. There's Familiaris, and that's not, excuse the pun, familiar territory there for Familiaris. As we have a fight out here for the lead. Look at Keegan Masters all over the back of Luke Lucchesi. Then Durant Motorsport, Byron Mitchell right in there as well. And a little bit of a gap before we see the Johan Fourie and Sons Racing Porsche of Mike Fourie and Sons Racing Ferrari of Johan Fourie.
Riding with Peter van der Spey in this race in that number 8 BMW of his. He's got his hands full there with Andrew Thomas and Keegan Campos right there behind him. But at the front of this race, it is Luke Lucchesi who's taken the lead of this race. Keegan Masters will not let him get away with that. He's going to try and fight back because he's got a hard-charging Byron Mitchell in that Ferrari in that 3rd position. Then Johan Fourie in 4th, followed by Umpi Swart. He's made his way up into that 5th position, followed there by Leighton Fourie.
Yeah, Leighton Fourie setting out there in P6, and they're trying to get away here from Graham Stephen. That is in that 7th position. He's got Jason Kutsia, Julian Famaris, Leon van Wyk, and Peter van der Spey right there. Lap number 1 is done and dusted. We're now into lap number 2, making their way out of the 90. Heading towards the S's. Through the S's they go. Lucchesi sits out there in P1 with Keegan Masters there in that 2nd position. Right on his heels is the Byron Mitchell Ferrari, followed there by the Johan Fourie Ferrari. As Keegan Masters is all over the back there, FC of Lucchesi, and Masters has got his nose up into P1. They are side by side, Masters, and Masters holds on to that lead. And he is now a 10th of a second ahead there of Luke Lucchesi.
Keegan Masters made a brilliant passing maneuver there on Luke Lucchesi. Lucchesi not out of trouble yet because Byron Mitchell's right there behind him, as is Johan Fourie and Leighton Fourie. All of them tucked in there behind each other. Umpi Swart a further 0.3 of a second down the line as Jason Kutsia makes it past the likes of Graham Stephen.
Yeah, so it's all happening out there. There's Jason Kutsia busy making his way around. He's got Umpi Swart ahead of him as he gets his nose ahead there of Graham Stephen. Right on the case of Graham Stephen is Julian Familiaris and Leon van Wyk, 0.2 of a second in there behind Familiaris. These guys are fighting for Kutsia's position. Graham Stephen, dropping down the board. There's Graham Stephen all the way down FC to P12.
Well, the guy's already starting to run very, very wide, coming out of the corners to try and make the corner as fast as possible. Riding on board here with Graham Stephen. Just let's have a look what he did there to get it all wrong. Just went in too hard. The tail end stepped out, and that just slid him off into that runoff area.
And that's why he finds himself all the way down there in that now 13th position is Graham Stephen. But no problem out there for Keegan Masters. He's 0.6 of a second ahead there of Luke Lucchesi, who in turn is 0.5 of a second ahead there of Byron Mitchell. Then there's 0.6 of a second between Mitchell and Johan Fourie. There's nearly 0.3 of a second between Fourie and Leighton Fourie. And then 0.4 of a second between Leighton and Yuri Swart Jr.
You can see the guys all diving left and right to try and find a way past everybody. There's Peter van der Spey. Oh, he got tagged there by... is that Thomas that got past him there? Was it Leon van Wyk? managed to get past him there as Captain Pete gets planted into the barriers.
Yeah, our own Maverick finds himself there in trouble and dropping down that leaderboard in that BMW of his. So major issues out there for Captain Peter van der Spey. No problems out there for Masters, no problems for Lucchese. Only issue that they've got is that Byron Mitchell is all over the back of them. It is a six-way fight for Keegan Masters' lead, as he's got Lucchese, Mitchell, Farid, and Swart right in there behind him.
Yeah, it's a tight battle for that top six. They are about 2.2 seconds clear of seventh place man Jason Kutsia. Kutsia, who must already actually been quite tired of this circuit already. He was out there in the Porsche Cup as well, as he finds himself in that seventh position with Familiaris right behind him and Leon van Wyk. But let's look at this view from Umpi Swart, who's busy chasing down Leighton Fourie, who's just 5/10 of a second ahead of him on the road.
Couple of PBs out there for Lucchese, for the two Fouries, for Swart and for Kutsia and for Familiaris for that matter. Julian's sitting out there. He's 9/10 of a second behind Jason Kutsia. He is Familiaris, but we have a look at that Porsche, that red Porsche of Leighton Fourie, as he crowds the back end there of Johan Fourie, and Masters and Lucchese and Mitchell are having their own little fight there. Now Johan has gone just more than a second behind the combination of Masters, Lucchese and Mitchell, but fighting hard to keep Leighton Fourie and Umpi Swart in there just behind him.
This is going to be one of the hardest and toughest battles out there, this fight for first, second, third. It dropped down to about 1/10 of a second between Lucchese and the young chap ahead of him, Sahud Variawa, made a bit of a mistake there.
Yeah, and finds himself all the way down in that towards the back end of the field there, does Sahud Variawa. But we're looking at this fight for first, second and third between Masters, Lucchese and Mitchell. They're trying to get away here from Johan Fourie, who's got Leighton Fourie and Yuri Umpi Swart right there on his case. These three have now broken away from Jason Kutsia. There you see Jason just coming out that left-hander, and he's got the Durand Motorsport BMW of Familiaris all over his back bumper.
Yeah, Familiaris right there by them, but then it's the Porsche of Leon van Wyk that comes through 1.9 seconds down the road. Then Andrew Thomas finds himself another 1.1 seconds off the pace there. Then Graham Stephen in that 11th position. He's got Matt Shorter, who's hounding him down the straight as those two Gulf Oil cars are batted out there for 11th and 12th position.
Yeah, he's got Bradley Liebenberg and he's got Jacques Werther in there. Behind him does Graham Stevens. So there's a massive fight out there. The guys are flashing lights. That's Bradley Liebenberg saying, get out of my way. Liebenberg wants to come through, and he does not want to lose contact there with Graham Stephen.
The man he was flashing his lights at, is that Swayze Hubert?
In
26th position.
Yes, Swayze Hubert, yes.
Oh, not going well for Swayze Hubert in this race if he's already being lapped by the 14th place man. He had some issues from the start of this race and dove into the pits.
That's the reason why he's all the way down. But Luke Lucchese is in P1. Lucchese is in P1. Mitchell is in second place. Now, this is exactly what Luke Lucchese wants. Luke wants to show all these young guns the way to the checkered flag, with Byron Mitchell in second, Keegan Masters in third, Johan Fourie in fourth. Look at that. It's still all six of them fighting out there for the lead.
Well, with a big enough blanket, you could cover that top six out there on the circuit. I wonder what Keegan Masters did to go all the way from first down to third position. Must have ran wide somewhere to lose that position.
Correct.
But now he's got Johan Fourie, who is slowly but surely got missile lock on the back of that Porsche in that Mike Fourie and Sons Ferrari.
Well, I'll tell you what, Leighton Fourie, the man that races main circuit for Universal Healthcare, and that is the overtaking maneuver there. Into the lead will Luke Lucchese go, and that's the replay of that take. As a matter of fact, he loses 2 positions there, and that is why he's dropped down into third position.
Yeah, he just didn't have drive coming out of that corner, and that's
Correct.
opened the door up for both of those guys to just come flying up on the inside there of Keegan Masters.
So we're still back there with the Leighton Fourie, the man that races for Universal Healthcare for Team Red, out there on the main circuit. He's all over the back of ex-multiple South African champion Johan Fourie, Westbank V8 champion, Sascar champion, karting champion, Formula Ford SA champion, a man that raced single-seaters in the UK as well is Johan Fourie, and it's champion chasing champion here. And right behind him is another man that finished second in the Polar Cup Championship last year, and that is Yuri Swart, and is doing very well in the Polo Championship this year. And they are all there with each other. Johan Fourie, Leighton Fourie, and Leighton Fourie gets his nose there ahead of Johan, and Johan goes off the circuit and loses that position to Umpi Swart as well.
Ever so slight contact there between Fourie, and that leaves the door wide open for Jason Kutsia to move up there with Julian Familiaris in there as well. Everybody out there, Umpi Swart managed to get past as the rest of the field now starts attacking the backside there of Johan Fourie. Jason Kutsia 2 seconds down the road. Julian Familiaris half a second off of his tail, with Leon van Wyk in that ninth position, 3 seconds down the road.
Yeah, that's a lovely fight there. Van Wyk has got Andrew Thomas and Matt Shorter. Leon out there in that ninth position, and he's been attacked there by Andrew Thomas and by Matt Shorter. That's one we'll have a look at a little bit later on. That is that fight for P9. But at this point in time, Jason Kutsia, the man you see there, the two Durant Motorsport drivers, are in P7 and P8, and Familiaris 0.2 of a second in there, just behind Jason Kutsia.
Massive fight between Leighton Fourie and Umpi Swart. Umpi was for a brief moment ahead there of Leighton. Let's have a look at this as Umpi Swart, he now feels he's got a chance here for that fourth position as he's right up on the back bumper of Leighton Fourie. But here comes Johan Fourie as well.
Yeah, Johan Fourie wants to make a comeback, but we are fighting hard out there is Leighton Fourie and Umpi Swart, and yes, Johan Fourie is now 0.3 of a second just behind Umpi Swart as we ride aboard with the Umpi Swart, and he's all over the back bumper of that Ferrari of Leighton Fourie.
Oh, this is a brilliant shot that our producers brought up here for us. We can see the car ahead, we can see the car behind in the rear view camera, as that is the space that Umpi Swart currently falls sandwiched in there between the two Fouries.
Yeah, watch out there for Johan Fourie. He is lucky. He's got 2.6 seconds between himself and Jason Kutsia, so he's in a semi-comfort zone there. Is Johan Fourie, but Keegan Masters means business. That the Porsche is chasing down the Ferrari, is chasing down the BMW, Lucchese, Mitchell, and Masters. That's first, second, and third. They put a lap on one of the slower guys there. It just keeps out the way there.
That's Brad Liebenberg. He must have had a bad situation somewhere.
That is Brad. He's lost 18 positions as Bradley Liebenberg.
But riding on board with the 8th place man, Julian Familiaris, up there in that 8th position. He's lost 4 positions since the start of this race, as he's right up on the case there of Jason Kutsia, right up on that back bumper. Now riding on board with Matt Shorter. He's going to dive out there from behind Leon van Wyk. Flashing the lights there, everybody. Matt Shorter as well as Andrew Thomas. Leon van Wyk just managing to hang on to that 9th position ahead of Thomas and Shorter.
Yeah, that's the fight I was talking about earlier on, the fight for 9, 10, 11, Van Wyk, Thomas and Shorter. And there is nothing. There's damage on the back wing there of the Matt Shorter Golf sponsored Porsche, and he is all over the back there of Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas out there in that BMW. So the BM is the meat in the two Ferrari sandwiches there, as Matt's going to have a go. And Matt Shorter gets his nose ahead there of Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, Shorter gets past in the Porsche ahead there of the gentleman behind him now. But riding on board with your 3rd place man in the other Porsche, Keegan Masters, not letting the other two get away from him just yet. The Ferrari of Byron Mitchell and the BMW of Luke Lucchese, who's in the lead of this race.
Yeah, what a fight they have out there for first, second, and third. Lucchese, Mitchell, and Masters, and then Leighton Fourie 2.5 seconds behind them. But he's got Yuri Umpi Swart and Johan Fourie for company, and not too far behind them, 2.9 seconds, is Jason Kutsia. As Umpi Swart once again ride aboard here with Umpi Swart, as he's going to have a go. He's going to have a go at Leighton Fourie. The two of them are side by side. Fourie on his right-hand side. And look at the Johan Fourie all over them as well. And Leighton Fourie, no, they're still side by side. That is going through the outer loop.
That's brave.
They are still side by side. This is either brave or very silly. Down the chute they go. into the left-hander. That's the boot section now, working their way through the laces FC and racing down towards the toe of the boot.
Nail-biting stuff. They go into that 180 degree turn at the toe, heading towards the heel now. It is Leighton Fourie who lost that position to Yuri Swart, but he's not giving up now. He goes and sits on that outside line. They're going to go into the right-hander. Then it says cut back to the left at the top of that little climb. Leighton Fourie not letting him get away.
Yeah, Johan Dalbois Fourie is right there on their cases as well. There's 0.3 of a second between himself and the man ahead of him, namely Leighton Fourie. There they come, working their way through. And I'll tell you what, there is nothing between them. That's the last corner of the Glen as they make their way down the main straight towards turn 1, the 90.
Yeah, into turn number 1 they're going to go, and it looks like Leighton Fourie is going to try and attempt to move. He's tucked up right down to the back bumper of Yuri Swart. Umpi runs it a bit wide coming out the corner, but as does Leighton Fourie. This opens the door for Johan Fourie to get a little bit closer as they head up through the S's up towards the backstretch.
Oh, this is brilliant stuff out there. As Murray Walker would say, this is absolutely amazing. That's what the great Murray Walker would have said. And there's a lovely fight out there. This is nothing between them. Look at this fight going on there between them. And they are side by side. Leighton Fourie, Yuri Swart, Johan Fourie. There is not much between them. And Umpi Swart manages just to keep ahead there of Leighton Fourie as Johan closes up there onto the back end of Leighton.
Swart making that BMW very, very wide. But for a brief moment, we had a different leader in this race. Byron Mitchell looked like he got up around Luke Lucchesi and then lost that position again. Look at how these guys are stacked in there behind each other. Lucchesi from Mitchell, from Masters. There's nothing in between them. Here, let's have a look at the replay. Goes around the outside, down the back straight towards the outer loop. Then just gets run out a little bit wide into the outer loop.
Right, down the chute they go towards the boot, but we keep an eye on first, second and third. Yeah, we're still with them, 1, 2 and 3. Lucchesi, Mitchell and Masters making their way through the final corner of Watkins Glen. Stomp on that loud pedal, it's hammer time. Down the home straight they go. Then it is Umpi Swart who's weaving around, trying to break the toe there on Leighton Fourie. And here comes Johan Fourie. Johan sits there on his outside. Look at Leighton, the nerve of Leighton to flash lights there at Umpi Swart.
I've actually picked up this from quite a few drivers, flashing lights at the guy ahead of you. I'm actually trying to overtake you, not lap you, and I flashed my lights at you.
All of the lead lap fighting for track position, and they flash lights at each other. The nerve these guys have got there.
A lot of close racing out there. Jacques Botha extremely close there on the back end of Andrew Thomas for that 11th and 12th position. That's right on board there with them. Jacques Botha and Thomas both in BMWs. Botha runs it a bit wide. And, is that the Matt Shorter that runs it a bit wide with the Porsche as well, with Leon van Wyk right on his case.
Yeah, that is the fight for Matt's 9th position. And right behind Matt, we've got Leon van Wyk. Then that man you see there, Jacques Botha. Right behind him is the BMW of Andrew Thomas. Andy Thomas, current karter at the Western Province Motor Club karting section is Andrew Thomas, and pretty decent karter as well. Then Peter Hubert and Johan Engelbrecht, the two of them are fighting for Corne Breedt's 13th position.
Peter Hubert's had a very, very quiet race up until this time out there. He's fighting, as Frankie says, there with Johan Engelbrecht, and they're both hounding down Corne Breedt, trying to get up into that 13th position. Not a lot in between the three of them there, as they're all quite close to each other. Ooh, very hard on the brakes goes Engelbrecht, and Peter Hubert just had to come into the brakes a little bit earlier than what he would have wanted to, but he's right on the case there of Engelbrecht, and he's going to try to make a move soon.
Right back to the front. Yes, I was just going to say the producer must take us there, because Mitchell and Masters is all over the back of Luke Lucchesi. 18.5 minutes done in this one, and Luke Lucchesi is fighting for his life. He's fighting to keep the young guns behind him. How do you keep Byron Mitchell behind him, Keegan Masters behind you? It is no names. It is awesome names in the world of, or South African world, I should say, of motorsport. Byron Mitchell, a young man that races at Killarney. He's done a 1 minute and 8, I think, around Killarney with his Formula VW. And now the Ferrari sits there on the outside of the BMW. The Porsche of Masters is right in there as well. There is a 1/10 of a second between Mitchell and Lucchese, and 4/10 of a second between Masters and Mitchell.
Oh, awesome stuff out there. Now it is Leighton Free that flashes his lights there at Johan Free, saying, get out of my way. I want to try and go and catch Umpi again. Johan Free says, you got to work for this one.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's going to have to either move out the way or go, because Umpi Swart is breaking the toe on them. So if Johan cannot get him, then he's going to have to, if I was Johan, I'd open the door and allow Leighton Free through, because clearly for whatever reason there's a lack of pace there in the Johan Free Ferrari. He's not going to keep Leighton Free behind him. Yeah, and Leighton Free says, I have now moved up into that 5th position. I can now attempt to go after Yuri Umpi Swart.
Yeah, then Julian Familiaris, he's sitting there behind Jason Kutsia. He's dropped back a little bit now on Kutsia. Kutsia being given a slight bit of a breather, but not that much. It's only 4/10 of a second between the two of them. It looks like quite a few car lengths, but that is nothing in these cars. As we ride on board there with Andrew Thomas, who's now starting to drop back a bit from Jacques Buerta.
Yeah, he's dropping back there from Buerta. As a matter of fact, Johan Engelbrecht is 7.7 seconds behind Andrew Thomas, and still Engelbrecht in that 13th position. He is ahead there of Corne Breed and Peter Hubert, so he has got the Breed and Hubert for company. Does Engelbrecht fighting out there for that 13th place. That's the 3 cars you see there on screen.
Yeah, the only other battle behind them would be the one between Peter van der Spey and Mike Verrier. Verrier at about 8/10 of a second behind Peter van der Spey, as Mike Verrier is slowly but surely starting to catch the back end there of Captain Pete.
21 minutes done in this one. Back to the top 3 we go. It's BMW versus Ferrari versus Porsche. It's Lucchese versus Mitchell versus Masters as they work their way around Watkins Glen. Luke Lucchese, Pantera Racing, sitting out there in P1, and here comes Durant Motorsports, Byron Mitchell, right there in that 2nd position, only 2/10 of a second ahead there of 3rd place man Keegan Masters.
Yeah, Masters having dropped down there after not getting any drive out of that corner, losing 2 positions to the gentleman ahead of him, but he's not giving up. He is staying in touch there and starting to apply pressure there on the back end of Byron Mitchell as they start to break away from 4th, 5th and 6th place. Yuri Swart, Johan Free and Leighton Free.
Yeah, that is Leighton Free in that 6th place. You see he's all over the back end there of Johan Free. Then there's a 1.5 second gap before we see Jason Kutsia. That's in that 7th position as we ride aboard with the man in P6 in car 46. Leighton Free sitting out there in that 6th position, and there's nearly 3/10 of a second between himself and the Ferrari ahead of him of Johan Free.
Peter Hubert starting to close on the BMW there of Andrew Thomas. There's 2/10 of a second between the two of them in that 12th and 13th position, as we're still riding on board there with the Ferries, but now they were with Andrew Thomas in trouble there with Peter Hubert with a yellow BMW applying a lot of pressure. He dives for the outside, going to try and make a move as they head go. That's the inside line now as they move towards the outer loop.
Yeah, and Peter Hubert makes the move, stick there on Andrew Thomas, and he must be careful because the Corne Breed is only 1.1 seconds in the BMW behind them. Here comes Corne Breed, and then 7/10 of a second behind Breed is the Ferrari of Jan Spalmers.
Yeah, Jan Spalmers right there in behind them with what Frankie calls a loud colour scheme.
It is.
On that Ferrari of Jan Spalmers. To me, that's a beautiful colour scheme.
It is a beautiful colour. I do agree with that.
Then about 7 seconds down the road from them is the 16th place man, Renier Hubert, who's had a very uneventful race up until now, and he is a further 2.5 seconds ahead of Peter van der Spey.
Right, back to our front trio as they make their way into turn 1, the 90. Now they'll go slightly up the hill towards the S's. It's still BMW versus Ferrari versus Porsche. They will work their way through the S's now and then head on to that long back straight, keeping in mind that they're not doing the bus stop known as the inner loop. If we stay with that shot, we'll see the inner loop there on their right-hand side. They race right past the inner loop FC towards the outer loop.
Yeah, heading into the outer loop now. That'll take them down the chute, or the carousel as it's known now, and that'll take you into the section called the boot. That first little straight is called the laces as they go around that right-hander Let's have a look here what happened to Johan Fourie. Got up on the inside there of Leighton Fourie. Brilliant move there by Johan Fourie.
That is the overtaking maneuver on Leighton there by Johan. But back to this massive dogfight we got out there for first, second and third. They are side by side. Lucchese has got Mitchell on his outside, but Lucchese's got the line for the right-hander, and he will just squeeze Byron Mitchell back into that second position.
Next man up who's close to doing something is Julian Familiaris there on a Jason Kutsia. Right up on that back bumper of Kutsia is Julian Familiaris, getting closer and closer. 0.5 of a second. Kutsia himself just 0.9 of a second away from Leighton Fourie, as the pair there of Kutsia and Familiaris are actually gaining on Leighton Fourie and Johan Fourie.
Yeah, they're fighting for Johan's P5 at this point in time. So Leighton Fourie, Jason Kutsia and Julian Familiaris are the two Durant Motorsport men. Is right in there. That is Jason on P7 and Julian in P8. So FC last lap times coming out there for all of the drivers.
Julian Familiaris is actually one of the fastest guys out there. That his last lap was a 1:39.414. The closest to that was Jason Kutsia on a 1:39.490.
Yeah, and then Umbi had a 1:39.5, and so did Keegan, but Mitchell also had a 1:39.4, so it's pretty close between those first 6-7
Strangely
drivers.
enough, Brad Liebenberg was the fastest man out there in the last lap with a 1:39.2.
Yeah, and he's all the way down in 24th position, and not we would expect to find Bradley Liebenberg. So, he had a horrible... Oh, and Lucas licking the wall there. That's just another problem for Brad Liebenberg. It's not going well out there for Bradley Liebenberg.
But it is going well for this man, Luke Lucchese, Mr. Luke Lucchese, leading this race 0.4 of a second ahead of Byron Mitchell, with Keegan Masters racked and stacked there right behind them, waiting for the slightest mistake from the guys ahead of them. And all of them are about 4.7 seconds ahead of fourth place Yuri Umpiswat.
Right, let's hit the reset button. The man that sits out there in P1 is Luke Lucchese. Luke Lucchese, there he goes. Pantera Racing, Luke Lucchese, 0.5 of a second ahead there of Byron Mitchell in that second position. 0.3 of a second ahead of Masters is Mitchell. Mitchell out there in that second. Masters out there in that third position. Then 4.8, 35 seconds behind them is Yuri Swart. 2.6 seconds behind him is Johan Fourie. But FC, this is where it gets interesting, because Leighton Fourie, Jason Kutsia and Julian Familiaris fighting each other for Johan's fifth position.
Yeah, four-way battle out there for that fifth position between Johan Fourie, Leighton Fourie, Jason Kutsia and Julian Familiaris. They're about 5.8 seconds ahead of ninth place man Matt Shorter in the Porsche, who is he's all on his own in that ninth position, with Leon van Wyk down in 10th in 12 seconds behind the likes there of Matt Shorter.
Yeah, Leon van Wyk out there in a lonely 10th position. Yeah, he's 12 seconds behind. Sorry, 5.9, that is 6 seconds. Sorry, where am I now? Yeah, van Wyk, sorry, 12 seconds behind Matt Shorter. That's quite right.
Peter Hubert in 11th position. He's a 1.3 seconds behind Van Wyk, and I think he'll be catching him in quite quick, because that Porsche has got a lot of battle scars. Andrew Thomas finds himself in 12th position, about 1.9 behind Hubert, with Jan Sparmers just 1.6 behind Thomas in that Ferrari.
And then Peter van der Spey, 9.9 seconds behind Jan Sparmers is Peter van der Spey, and he is fighting for that 14th position, because less than a second behind him is Rainier Hubert. Rainier Hubert in that Ferrari, and then 5.3 seconds behind him is this man. He's been quiet this evening, FC, Noah Hendricks.
Yeah, but the wings on that Ferrari looks pretty bent as well.
Second hand, yeah.
Graham Stephen finds himself there in 17th position. He's 8 seconds behind Noah Hendricks, with Johan Engelbrecht in 18th position, 23 seconds down the road from Graham Stephen.
Yeah, but let's get back to those guys fighting up there for P1. As we look at Engelbrecht in that 18th position. Well, let's round off the top 20, because Corne Breert is 3.8 seconds behind him. We've got a new leader. We've got it back into
We had a new leader.
Yeah, these guys are fighting each other. There's a 10th of a second between Lucchese and Mitchell. Can you imagine Lucchese saying, no, I'm not letting you hot shot. Get your nose ahead of me. It's a long, hard race here for the master. Luke Lucchese. Why do I say master? Because he's 40 years and older, and because he is a master out there. We know him from karting days, and we know him from Clubman's days, and he did a stint a couple of years ago back in the old Stanley Group N racing as well. So Luke Lucchese knows his way around a racetrack, and he is fighting for survival to keep Mitchell and Masters behind him as we have a look at that bonnet view of the BMW of Luke Lucchese.
Yeah, well, Frankie, that's good news, that bonnet view for Lucchese. It's open track ahead of him. That's what he wants. He doesn't want to get bogged down by any back markers at this stage of the fight, with that massive battle raging on behind him, with Byron Mitchell and Keegan Masters just waiting for the slightest bit of hindrance to unsettle Lucchese to try and take that position as they come down the main straight.
With that fight going on there behind them, it's been led there by Yuri Umpiswart. Then it's Leighton Fourie. Behind Leighton Fourie, we have got Johan Fourie, then Jason Kutsia and Julian Familiaris. That is the top 8. And still, Johan, Jason, and Julian is fighting there for Leighton's 5th position.
Well, Frankie, we're 1/3 into the race here this evening, 30 minutes done and dusted, and it would be interesting to see. I've seen some very interesting lines taken through corners as Kutsia is right there on the case of Fariza, right up alongside him. Is he going to make the move stick? There he goes. Jason Kutsia takes a position, but he's on the outside line, and Fourie will get... No, he loses that position, and then he gets it back. It's virtually side by side there for Fourie and Kutsia.
Oh, that is heading down the carousel into the left-hander, going into the laces of the boot. Now they'll race down the laces into the toe of the boot, that 180-degree right-hander. And Fourie is gone. Johan Fourie is gone. He gets sent packing there onto the outside of the circuit.
Let's have a look. Oh, that was contact there. Jason Kutsia banging into the back there of Johan Fourie. Fourie's not going to be happy with that one. That's going to be referred to the stewards, definitely.
Yeah, he got sent back in there, and I'm almost certain that that one will go to the stewards. You're quite right, FC. However, nothing will be reported to the stewards by this man, Luke Lucchese. Why? Because he's coming out the last corner, and he is in the lead, and he's trying to break away from Byron Mitchell, who in turn is now fighting to keep Keegan Masters behind him.
Yeah, Keegan Masters applying a lot of pressure with that Porsche on the back of that Ferrari of Mitchell, as Lucchese gets a slight bit of breathing space ahead of Mitchell. But Masters now the man on the move in that 3rd position. He was virtually glued to the back bumper of that Ferrari as they went through those corners. And we've got Fourie coming into the pits to come and fix up that damage.
Yeah, I'm not happy, Johan Fourie, after he got sent packing there to the outside of the corner and the 180 right-hander at the toe of the boot. But there is Umpiswart in that 4th position. And Umpi is 2.9 seconds ahead of Leighton Fourie. And Leighton Fourie has got the Jason Kutsia right there on his back bumper. And then catching both of them in P7 is Julian Familiaris.
Julian Familiaris, he would want to move up as far as possible because he lost 3 positions from the start of this race to where he finds himself now. He would like to move back up into at least that 4th position, but he's going to have to work for it because he's first got to get past Jason Kutsia, then he's got to pick off Leighton Fourie, and then only can he start dreaming of catching Yuri Umpiswart.
So the question is, when will these drivers start for their routine pit stops? Will it be from about 50 minutes onwards? We don't know. How much fuel have they got aboard at the start of this one? That we also don't know. Woohoo, these guys are trying hard. They're using the entire Watkins Glen racetrack and a touch more. Out the final corner they go, FC, racing down the home straight towards turn 1.
That's what I actually wanted to ask earlier on with a third of the race in. We've seen quite a few interesting lines through corners. I would like to see the amount of X's that they've accumulated up until now. Because remember, I think it's at 17 you get a drive-through.
Well, surprisingly not a lot.
Much.
Renier Hubert sits on 7, Luke King sits on 8, and Peter is on 9, so not too much.
Yeah, of the top guys, Jason Kutsia actually the man with... Jason and Peter were the most. Jason sitting on 5 and Peter Hubert on 9.
Well, no errors out there for Luke Lucchese or for Byron Mitchell or for Umpiswart. So 3 of the top 4 No errors, and only one for Keegan Masters, the man that we are riding aboard with now in that number 18 Porsche. And once again, he and Mitchell is closing up onto the back end there of Luke Leclerc. Who's the biggest winners, the biggest gainers so far? Liebenberg has gone down 19 positions. Jock Buerta 21, but Jock is out of this one.
Peter Hubert,
yes, FC was 17.
He seems to be the biggest winner at this stage, gaining 17 positions and finding himself in that 9th position. And Rainier Hubert as well with 11 positions gained since the start of this race.
Yeah, Leighton Free's gone up 10. Yuri Swart, 6. Jason Kitsia has gone up 4. And Umpi has gone up 5 positions. Byron is still where he started there in 2nd position.
Jan Sparmers has also made a massive gain there. He's also gained 11 positions. And Corne Breet gained about 7 positions from the start of this race.
Right, so that is the biggest losers and the biggest gainers out there as we are on lap number 22 as they're working their way now through the S's.
I don't know if my ears only popped now after getting back from Polokwane this weekend, but for the first time, I properly hear the beautiful sound from these Porsches, these Porsche GTEs. That's especially when Gary went to that shot of the left front wheel of Keegan Masters' car. Beautiful, beautiful sound coming from these Porsches.
Right, so the war is still on here for 1, 2, and 3. Luke Leclerc is not going to give in. Peter Hubert is the first of the top 10 drivers to have made a pit stop, but otherwise none of your top 12 drivers, your top dozen drivers, only Peter Hubert has made a pit stop so far.
Yeah, and I would say everybody that has dove into the pits might have done that to repair some damage. I don't think those would have been strategy stops at all just yet. So it'll be interesting to see when the top guys start diving into the pits to start effecting their strategies out here. As we ride on board there with Julian Familiaris in that number 43. He is right on the case there of Leighton Fourie. Fourie just 0.3 of a second away from Jason Coetzee, as Familiaris has got the best seat in the house to watch that fight for 5th and 6th.
Yeah, Julian in the BMW 0.6 of a second just behind Leighton Fourie, who's 0.4 of a second behind Jason Coetzee. So not much there between P5, 6, and 7. Coetzee, Fourie, and Familiaris. Julian out there with a Durant Motorsport BMW M8 as we watch him sitting there in that 7th position, and he is chasing down the 2021 Comcare Pilot Cup champion Leighton Fourie, who now flashes lights there at Jason Coetzee.
Jason Coetzee in trouble as Leighton Fourie is right up on that inside line, now the outside as they head towards the 90. It's all guns are blazing into that right-hander as they go into this corner here. Jason Coetzee just managing to hold on. Oh, there's contact between Fourie and Coetzee, but Coetzee just managing to hold on.
Well, they're now busy working their way through the S's now. They will head towards the back straight. Going into that right-hander, slightly banked towards the right-hand side. That will take them towards the end of the S's. Now they'll nail it. All she has down that back main. Leighton Fourie, you can see there in his rear view mirror, there's the Familiaris BMW on the wing mirror of his Ferrari that you saw there. So Leighton Fourie knows that Familiaris is there, and of course he's there. He's only 0.4 of a second behind him as I'm watching him through that wing mirror as well.
Well, there's so many places where you can watch that. You can see it in the rear view mirror as well. But these guys battling it out there for that 5th, 6th, and 7th position as Jason Coetzee gets
Familiaris pit lane. Sorry, FC, to jump over you.
There we go. Familiaris being the first one to blink and go into the pit lane as Matt Shorter gains a position because of that pit stop. Is this the strategy that they wanted? Is Julian Familiaris actually pulling an undercut here?
Well, he's tried this. He's done 38 minutes in this one, so there must be some kind of a plan that he's got there, because he's normally he'd be fighting for top 3, and he wasn't in that top 5 from the get-go. Now he's, as we watch Umpi Swart make his way around, and he is 3.1 seconds ahead there of Jason Coetzee, who is being crowded there by Leighton Fourie. So that was a fight we saw between the two of them earlier on. They were side by side. He almost had his nose ahead of him, but Jason hung on to that fifth position.
Julian Familiaris out of the pits now as he gains a position there on Andrew Thomas, but colder tyres and a bit heavier fueled. Andrew Thomas getting that position back, but going back to the front of this race, Luke Lucchesi 5/10 of a second ahead there of Byron Mitchell. Mitchell only 4/10 of a second ahead of Keegan Masters. Who of these three will blink first and dive into the pits? We'll have to wait and see.
Time will tell. Nearly 40 minutes done in this one. 5 more minutes, then we'll reach the halfway mark. And nothing has changed between Lucchesi, Mitchell and Masters. BMW, Ferrari and Porsche as they head down into turn number 1, called the 90. Slightly banked right-hander, and then they race up that hill, FC, towards the S's.
Yeah, into the S's they're going to go now. It is M-Power versus Italian Passion, followed by German Engineering out there. The front 3 cars as they're all wrecked and stacked back in there right behind each other. Keegan Masters right on the back end there of Byron Mitchell. Masters just sitting there trying to catch the slipstream to get ever so close. Late on the brakes, he almost goes back into the back bumper of Byron Mitchell as they go into the outer loop.
Big thanks there to Canvas Intelligence, ASAP Motor Spares, Second Gear Productions and Motorsport SA. Back with the 3 front runners, Luke Lucchesi, Byron Mitchell, Keegan Masters. There we are with Mitchell now 4/10 of a second between himself and Luke, and he is 3/10 of a second ahead there of Keegan Masters is Mitchell.
Right there behind them, 7 seconds down the road, Umpi Swart sits in that 4th position with Jason Kutsia 2 seconds, shall I say, rather, down the road, almost 3 seconds down the road. Then it is Leighton Ferrari who's still applying a load of pressure there on Kutsia. You can see that Ferrari tucked up right in there behind that Porsche as they come down that short straight.
Yeah, and then Matt Shorter sits there in that 7th position. He's 5.3 seconds behind Leighton Ferrari. He's a Gulf-colored Porsche with a damaged rear wing there of Matt Shorter. Matt's got a brother by the name of Chris Shorter, and it's strange that Chris Shorter has never ever taken part in the sim racing world.
So Frankie, who's shorter? Chris Shorter or Matt Shorter?
That's the famous Shorter brother racing brothers that race Extreme Festival.
Peter Hubert out in the Wild Rose Craft Gin BMW sitting there in that 8th position. He is 16 seconds down from Shorter and 9 seconds ahead of this man in the Ferrari, Jan Sparmers. Sparmers just 2.5 seconds ahead of Leon van Wyk in that white Porsche of his, with Peter van der Spey finding himself 10 seconds. Ooh, Leon van Wyk into the pit lane.
Yeah, just saw that. Oh, it's a damaged Porsche there of van Wyk that's working its way there down the pit lane. So there must have been some form of contact there involving Leon van Wyk.
Let's have a look here. There's a car we haven't seen all day, Keegan Campos, who is making his way around the circuit and getting it all wrong.
Yeah, into the barrier goes the Campos Transport Porsche of Keegan Campos. His dad, Roy Campos, also an ex-national racer, and he comes down to Cape Town on a regular basis, does Roy, to take part in our V8 Master Series.
Nice to see some of the well-known names from all over South Africa taking part in the MSA GTE Series. But this is your race leader, Luke Lucchesi, leading them out there. He's got about half a second between himself and Byron Mitchell. Mitchell not in as comfortable a position because he's got Keegan Masters on about 2.5 tenths of a second there, as it's still all guns are blazing and none of them blinking yet to go into the pits.
Keegan Campos is there in pit lane. You can understand why, because he made contact there with the Armco barrier. So Keegan is there in the pit area. However, the other Keegan is not in trouble, and that's Keegan Masters. He's there in that 3rd position, and he is all over the back end there of Byron Mitchell, who was 4/10 of a second behind race leader Luke Lucchesi.
Well, your back markers now starting to play a role here, as they've caught up there to Leon van Wyk and Corne Breed, as all of them in there trying to get past them. Luckily, they all stay out of the way, and it is Van Wyk that manages to get past Corne Breed as they batted out there for their positions.
Yeah, they're fighting there for that 17th and 18th position. You just saw that one change as the leaders went through. So Mike Vera, you see in there just behind them. They've put a lap there on Vera, has Kutsia and Fourie. So into the pits comes Captain Peter van der Spey.
Yeah, Peter van der Spey into the pits now as well. Johan Fourie has worked his way up into 14th position so far, but going back to the front, it's Lucchesi ahead there of Byron Mitchell, Keegan Masters. The gaps between them not changing whatsoever. This is the most consistent, hardest fight I've seen out here in a long, long time.
So we are 20, make it 15 seconds away from halfway as Umpiswat makes his way up that final corner, racing down towards turn number 1. There's Jason Kutsia in behind him, and he's been kept honest there by Leighton Fourie. Leighton Fourie sitting out there. Then we've got a back marker. That would be Mike Verrier. And there is Matt Shorter in that Gulf Color Porsche sitting there in that 7th position with that damaged rear wing. And Matt is 4.8 seconds behind Leighton Fourie.
Yeah, that shorter wing there on that Porsche. Peter Hubert sitting in 8th position with the BMW. He's 18 seconds down the road from Matt Shorter and ahead of Jan Spalmers with the Ferrari, who's just dove into the pits.
Yeah, Jan Spalmers making his way into the pit lane. He pits on 45 minutes. Does Jan Spalmers in that 999 Ferrari. Familiaris busy making his way through now into turn number 1. Does Julian. Graham Stephen. And there comes Graham Stephen. Then behind him is Andrew Thomas. And 1.2 seconds behind Thomas is Renier Hubert. That's just done a personal best of a 1:42.45.
Yeah, Renier Hubert out there in the ASAP used motor spares Ferrari sitting in that 12th position. Johan Fourie, who is 10 seconds down the road from him, but you can imagine that Johan Fourie will be moving pretty fast to try and catch them. Fastest lap time of the race so far, Keegan Masters in that 3rd position on a 1:38.112.
Right, let's hit the reset button. Half is done, half still to go. Lucchesi, Mitchell and Masters, as quick as you can say it, that's the 3 of them that flash past you, making their way through the S's towards that long Watkins Glen back straight. As they work their way out the S's, here comes Umpiswart in that 4th position. And he's 3.6 seconds ahead of Jason Kutsia. But Jason Kutsia is being kept honest by that red Ferrari of Leighton Fourie.
Yeah, Fourie now going to have a look right up at that back bumper of Kutsia as they go down that back straight past the inner loop bus stop into the outer loop. Just drops it back a little bit not to get into trouble on that outside line as they now come down the straight, heading towards the carousel, into the boot section and into that short straight there called the Laces.
Right through the Laces they go, heading towards the toe of the boot, and Leighton Fourie is right in there. Jason Kutsia is holding him. Mike Vera just got overtaken there by Matt Shorter. Matt in that 7th position. And Matt is losing ground. He's just over 4.5, make it 4.7 seconds behind Leighton Fourie.
Yeah, slowly but surely losing ground there, but managing to keep that distance between himself and Peter Hubert pretty stable at that 18-second mark, with Julian Familiaris now having a mountain ahead of him. 26 seconds to catch Peter Hubert, but I don't think anybody ahead of him has pitted just yet.
Not a good one out there so far for Familiaris. Here comes Graham Stephen in that Gulf-sponsored BMW M8. He's in that 10th position, 2.5 seconds behind Familiaris. And then he is 2.2 seconds ahead there of Andrew Thomas.
Andrew Thomas just managing to stay ahead there of Renier Hubert as well. Hubert about 3 seconds down the road from Thomas, with Johan Fourie moving up into 13th position and with about 8 seconds to go before he catches up to the back end there of Renier Hubert.
Yeah, turn to a horror show for Johan. He was tagged there going into the 180 right-hander in the toe of the boot. Then he had to go pit afterwards and finds himself just out of the top 12. There is Jan Spalmers, and he is fighting for position there with Johan Engelbrecht, who was 7/10 of a second in there just behind Jan Sparmers. So the Ferrari has been chased down there by the BMW, and then 7.9, nearly 8 seconds behind Johan Engelbrecht is Corné Breed.
Yeah, but Breed not in any position to be comfortable at this stage, because Leon van Wyk is battling for position right there, right behind him. He's going to go for that outside line going into that left-hander, but he's spat out wide, and he's got to settle back into that 17th position, but he's not going to give up just yet.
Now, Corné Breed's going to fight until the end. He's got Van Wyk just in there behind him in the Porsche, and then 10.1 seconds behind them is Peter van der Spey as Corné Breed races down the home straight into turn 1, and Corné Breed has got Van Wyk. Van Wyk closed up on him slightly as he goes to turn 1. Oh, he goes off the circuit there, does Breed, and this will bring Van Wyk right onto that back wing there of the BMW of Breed.
Front bumper cam view there of Leon van Wyk onto the back bumper of Corné Breed. He's right up against it, dives for the outside, goes sit right alongside him down that straight. The backstretch heading towards the outer loop. He's got to try to make a move soon, otherwise it's going to be spat out towards the outside.
Oh, that's a lovely cam view from inside Leon van Wyk's car, inside the Van Wyk Porsche. Now they're going down the carousel, working their way towards the laces, and Breed has been overtaken there by Leon van Wyk.
Well, something I've picked up earlier in the race as well, if you are brave enough to go and sit on that outside and not back out whatsoever, you are rewarded with the inside line going into the left-hander, into the laces section of the boot, and that's exactly what happened there to Leon van Wyk.
Right, so Byron Mitchell making his way through. He's going to put a lap there on Jan Sparmers. Jan Sparmers is the man that is ahead there of your leader, Byron Mitchell. So Sparmers will just keep out the way. Down the main straight to go. He'll dive up onto the inside. Masters and Lucchesi FC is in pit lane.
Yeah, well, something happened just before that. Lucchesi dropped down to third,
yes,
and then decided to dive into the pits and brought with him Keegan Masters. Let's have a look there. What happened? He was already down in third by the time he went into the pit lane. So him and Keegan Masters deciding to do that at the same time. And that leaves Byron Mitchell all on his own in that lead. Will he be able to retain that lead once he's done diving into the pits as well?
And Umpi Swart and Matt Short into the pits as well. Yes, I picked that up on the commentary when I mentioned that Byron Mitchell is in the lead there. So yeah, all of the main guns are in the pits there. Masters is in the pits. Lucchesi, Shorter, and Umpi Swart is there in pit lane.
Who will get going first? Will it be Lucchesi or Keegan? Keegan Masters gets the Porsche moving. At the same time, Lucchesi starts moving the BMW as well. Then Umpi Swart will get the BMW moving as well. Ahead there of Matt Shorter. Has Byron Mitchell done enough on his lone lap out at the front of this race to stay ahead there? And when is he going to dive into the pits?
So there goes the Run Motorsport Ferrari of race leader Byron Mitchell, sitting way out there in P1, 13.8, nearly 14 seconds ahead there of Jason Kutsia. That's in that second position, but he's been hassled heavily there by that red Ferrari of Team Red, Leighton Free. That's in there just behind the Porsche of Jason Kutsia.
Kutsia can't even take a moment to check his mirrors. He has to concentrate at 100% because the slightest mistake will hand that position to Leighton as they both... No! Kutsia dives into the pits and Leighton Fries decides, whatever you do, I'm going to do the opposite. And he goes to do another lap.
Yeah, whatever he does, don't do what he does, do the opposite. And that's exactly what he's done. So Keegan Masters there in that fourth position. And he's going to put a lap there soon on Noah Hendricks. Noah not in screen at this point in time, but he will have a go to Noah Hendricks as Jason Kutsia stops in his pit box.
Yeah, Kutsia in his pit box at this stage of the fight. That's going to leave the door open for Keegan Masters and Lucchesi to catch up at a rapid pace as they do now. It's down, there we go. Masters takes the third position. Lucchesi will be right on his heels. There they go as they pass Kutsia, who's in the pits. the big question right now is, when is Byron Mitchell going to bring that Ferrari in?
Yeah, that is the big question, as Kutsia is busy making his way out of the pit area. Fifth place man, Yuri Swart. Well, it's blown itself apart. Let's have a look and see, because Leighton Fourie must also hit the pit lane. It's not only just the Byron Mitchell. So let's have a look and see. Here comes Leighton Fourie, the man that's currently there in that second position, as Renier Hubert makes his way into the pit area.
Yeah, Renier Hubert into the pit area as well. Leon van Wyk still battling it out there with the corner bit out on circuit, as your race leader Byron Mitchell now dives into the pits. This is where everybody's going to be sitting with a bated breath, waiting to see where will Keegan Masters and Lucchesi come out. Will they be ahead or behind Byron Mitchell, as Leighton Fourie also dives in?
Yeah, I was thinking that if Mitchell comes in, Leighton will have to come in with him as well. And there, Byron Mitchell stops in his box. And they're still classified as the leaders, but that won't be for long, because Keegan Masters, here he comes, Keegan Masters and Luke Lucchesi in there right behind him. Surely Masters and Lucchesi will, yeah, they will. That's the final corner.
Yeah, sliding it through that final corner. Oh, very wide. Ooh, somebody went into the pits again.
Is it? Yeah, somebody did go into the pits. I just saw it. That is Leighton Fourie. Yes, Leighton Fourie is in the
Well,
pit
he
area.
was in the pits, but it looked like Lucchesi ran it towards the pit entrance. And actually, yeah, look, he dropped down 4 seconds from Keegan Masters coming out of that corner. So I wonder what went wrong there for Lucchesi.
Drive-through maybe for Leighton Fourie? We don't know what the COCs are saying.
Well, Leighton Fourie was in the pits. That was Lucchesi that looked like he was diving towards the inside to go into the pits, then moved it out again. He lost 4 seconds on that one.
Yeah, so Leighton Fourie out there in that 7th position. Keegan Masters sitting out there in P2. Lovely to see Keegan Masters doing so well. It's about time that we see Masters at the sharp end of the field. And he is 1.3 seconds behind your leader, Byron Mitchell. And he in turn is 4.2 seconds ahead there of third place man, Luke Lucchesi.
I can tell you who did manage to win in this round of pit stops. Julian Familiaris. He couldn't get past Leighton Fourie a little bit earlier on, then went and stopped quite early ahead of everybody else, and that's at least put him ahead of Leighton Fourie.
Well, let's hope that pit stop has got enough fuel to take that BMW towards the checkered flag. You don't know how heavy the BM is on fuel compared to the Ferrari and the Porsche, but we will find out pretty soon. We've almost done an hour, 57 minutes done to be exact. So FC, we have got 33 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, with 33 minutes, let's look at your leaderboard. Byron Mitchell leads this race 1 second ahead there of Keegan Masters. Luke Lucchesi 4.6 seconds down the road in that third position in the BMW, and he sits 7.5 seconds ahead of fourth place man Yuri Umpiswart in the BMW.
That's the man you see there, Duran Motorsport, Yuri Umpiswart. And then behind him, Jason Kutsia is in that fifth position, and right behind him, these are two teammates. These are two Duran Motorsport teammates. Jason Kutsia in the Porsche and Julian Familiaris in the BMW. And they are fighting it out there for P5 and 6.
Yeah, Leighton Fourie, the next man through, as Familiaris gets past Jason Kutsia for that 5th and 6th position. Leighton Fourie sitting in 7th position. He is 3 seconds ahead there of Graham Stephen, who finds himself in 8th place in the Golf BMW, with Matt Shorter just 0.3 of a second down in 9th. And Johan Fourie worked his way up into 10th position, 14 seconds down from Shorter.
Looking down at P12, Jan Spammers is having a lovely fight there with the corner Engelbrecht, as we have a look there at that, Jan Engelbrecht, being rectified here by FCM, looking all over the leaderboard at the same time. So Hubert sitting out there in that 11th position. And then it is Spammers, and there you see Jan Spammers, and right behind him, a second behind him, is the BMW of Johan Engelbrecht.
Corne Breet about 9 seconds down the road from Johan Engelbrecht, but he's got his hands full with the Porsche of Leon van Wyk, just 0.2 of a second They've been constantly almost swapping positions the whole time ever since Leon van Wyk got out of that pit stop. Then about 12 seconds behind them in 16th position, Peter van der Spey finds himself in a lonely 16th position as he is 5 seconds ahead there of Reinier Joubert and Mike Verrier, who's battling it out there for that 17th and 18th position.
Yeah, that's a fight out there for P17, 18. And look at Noor Hendricks and Andrew Thomas. They're in there as well. So Verrier, Hendricks and Thomas all over the back end there of the man in P17, Reinier Joubert.
So Variawa is finding himself in a pit lane in the Porsche. He's had a bit of a bad race out there, being involved in some incidents, and then looking at Luke King, who gets past him there to that 21st position.
We're looking at second place man there, Keegan Masters, and now at the man that sits out there in P1, Byron Mitchell. There's a second between Mitchell and Masters, the Ferrari and the Porsche. Masters has gone down. Ooh! And Byron Mitchell running heavily off the track there. And if he looks in his rearview mirror, it will be full of red and white. The Porsche of second place man Keegan Masters.
When Luke Lucchesi was leading this race, he was controlling the pace of the race. Now that he's dropped in behind these two, it seems like he just can't stay with them. Having initially been about 4.5 seconds behind, that's dropped to 5.5 seconds behind now in that BMW. But in the meantime, Keegan Masters now starting to creep closer and closer and putting a lot of pressure there on Byron Mitchell.
Yeah, look at Luke Lucchesi. There you see Umpi Swart coming through. He's 7.1 seconds behind him. Will the gap close? I don't know. There's Familiaris. Right behind him is Jason Kutsia. Right behind him is Leighton Free. Right behind him is Matt Short. The two Gulf-colored cars are in there as well, because behind him in P9 is Graham Stephen.
13 seconds down the road, Johan Free in the Ferrari sits in a lonely 10th position there after having had that contact with the Kutsia. Then behind him, Peter Joubert in the Wild Rose Gin BMW sits there in 11th, and he's got about 15 seconds between himself and Johan Engelbrecht as we move down the line there towards that 12th position in that BMW with the Engelbrecht. Right on his case though, Jan Sparmers in the Ferrari looks like he's posing a threat to Johan Engelbrecht.
And then 14th place man is Leon van Wyk, and he has got Corne Breed there with him. Corne has gone up 10 positions since this race, so it is van Wyk and Breed. And then down in P17, Mike Verrier has got them racked and stacked in there behind him. There is Mike Verrier, Reinier Joubert, Andrew Thomas and Noah Hendricks. That's a train of cars that's making their way into that right-hander, and they're all after Mike's 17th position.
Yeah, Reinier Joubert looks like he's the first man up to try and make a move there on Mike Verrier. He's right on the case there, but here comes Andrew Thomas late on the brakes. It's going to go up at the inside of Joubert. Wiggle of the steering wheel there, and luckily just doesn't make contact, but has to stay in that 19th position.
So that fight is still on there. The first car in that train of cars is the Porsche of Mike Verrier. Then the Ferrari right in there behind him of Reinier Joubert, and then the BMW of Andrew Thomas, and then Noah Hendricks in there as well as Reinier Joubert sits there on the outside. That's going in the outer loop on the outside there of the dock. But he pulls in there as they run down the chute or the carousel into the left-hander. That's now into the boot section, running down the laces of the boot into that 180-degree bank right-hander that is the toe of the boot.
Yeah, into the toe they go now. Then it's the sole of the boot, shall we call it, heading towards the heel. And then that's going to be a hard right-hander as well. Oh, is that Andrew Thomas? Goes up on the inside there of Reinier Joubert and makes that one stick. Beautiful move there by the BMW of Andrew Thomas.
And Noah Hendricks keeping an eye on both of them. So Reinier is going to come back at Andrew Thomas again. But Noah Hendricks is going to be very, very close. There, we're right on board with Reinier Joubert. This is the fight there for 2/3 down the field. Between Reinier Joubert, ahead of him is Andrew Thomas, and just ahead of him is that blue Porsche of Dr. Mike Verrier as they make their way down the home straight.
Reinier Joubert running it very, very close to the wall as they come out of that final corner. But yeah, he lost that position to Andrew Thomas, and Thomas on the move now. He's got his missile lock there on Dr. Mike Verrier as they head into the next corner, heading up towards the S as they go now. and up towards the backstretch here at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, and the doctor's got him right there behind him. Mike Vera's got Andrew Thomas right there with him, and he dives and sits there on his outside. Renier Bear has got Noah Hendricks all over him as they race down towards the outer loop, and still Mike Vera manages to keep Andrew Thomas in there behind him. But now Renier Bear is fighting hard to keep Noah Hendricks in there behind him.
Yeah, they're all battling it out there. Mike Berry has got his hands full there with Andrew Thomas as they're heading towards the toe. Will Thomas be able to make a move? No, Mike Berry gets a bit of breathing space as they go around the toe corner towards the heel of the boot. Down that little straight they go. Andrew Thomas is not giving up yet, but he's going to find himself on the outside of that corner once again. Will Mike Berry make that Porsche wide? Who's going to be latest on the brakes? Oh, it's side by side, but Mike Berry just hangs on to that position.
Yeah, the doc has got the line there. Now they'll move into the left-hander. Then it's a short shoot, slightly downhill before they get into another left-hander. That's the second last corner here at Watkins Glen. Then stab the loud pedal and then into the final corner of the Glen and make their way down the main straight into turn number 1, and a bit of heaving there by the doc to try and keep Thomas in there behind him.
Leighton Free, in the meantime, he's now starting to get closer and closer to the back end there of Jason Kutsia, just 0.6 of a second as he creeps closer and closer to the Porsche there of Kutsia. Will Leighton Free be able to catch up to that Porsche with 25 minutes to go in this race? Gets it very close to the wall there, heading down the main straight. You can bet your bottom dollar if somebody's going to catch Kutsia, it will be Leighton Free.
Well, as we watch that, I look down the leaderboard, and Andrew Thomas did get his nose ahead there of Mike Verrier. Andrew now in P17, Mike down in P18, just ahead there of Renier Bear, and that will be the overtaking maneuver there. Andrew Thomas makes on the dock himself.
Yeah, he eventually made a bit of a switchback to try to get that BMW up on the inside there of the Porsche, and we've seen it countless times here this evening already. The BMW seeming to have a little bit more of a better pull off out of the corners. I mean, that's how Keegan Masters lost his lead in the race earlier as well.
So Leighton Free crawling all over the back end there of Jason Kutsia, as Keegan Masters is crawling all over the back end of Byron Mitchell, and they've got traffic. They have got traffic. No, that's that fight out there between Hendricks and them that the leaders are catching. There is Mike Vedder, there is Renier Hubert, and then you've got Mitchell and Masters right in there behind them. So that fight that we were talking out the FC for, what's it, 17, 18, 19, 20th position, that fight, these guys have now been caught by our two leaders.
Here comes Keegan Masters. He's almost up on the inside there of Mitchell. Mitchell just closes off the door, going into that right-hander. They run a bit wide. It's all-out war here between Mitchell and Masters as they head up through the, is that the S's? Looks like it is the S's heading now towards the backstretch.
Yes.
It is Mitchell. Mitchell in trouble here because here comes Keegan Masters. Goes for the outside. Gets out of the slipstream. There's always contact between them. Just look at how that Porsche pulls, heading towards the outer loop. Remember, if you can stay on that outside line in the outer loop, you are rewarded with the inside line going into the laces.
Well, they are still side by side, and he's now got the line. He's now got the inside line, and Keegan Masters puts the Porsche out there in P1 and touches the grass. My, oh my, and they're going to catch now Andrew Thomas.
As they go around the toe there of the boot, going down the straight towards the heel. All out action here at Watkins Glen, and here comes Byron Mitchell. He wants that position back, but Keegan Masters says, not this time.
Well, they're going to pick up the back marker. That is Andrew Thomas, and Andrew sits out there in that 17th position. So we ride now with our two front runners on board with the Byron Mitchell, the Run Motorsport Ferrari, all over the back of the Porsche of Keegan Masters. It's a heck of a fight that's going on out here with nearly 1 hour and 10 minutes done as they work their way down the main straight.
Looks like Keegan Masters now getting a bit of breathing room. He's 0.5 of a second ahead there of Byron Mitchell. Luke Lucchesi now starting to pick up the pace as well, while those two battle it out there. Now only 5.8 seconds behind the front two cars, with Umpi Swart 6 seconds down the line.
Yeah, then I noticed that Leighton Fourie out there in P6 is still fighting heavily there with Jason Kutsia. We'll have a look at that one. Leighton in that 6th position, Jason Kutsia in that 7th place. But look at this. We've got to keep an eye on this one. Mitchell and Masters, 0.2 of a second between these two. And that is nothing. Woo, they are so close to the Armco barrier as they work their way now down the laces towards the toe of the boot.
Well, Frankie, this tells a story. If you look at how Keegan Masters managed to do that, the last lap for Byron Mitchell was a 1 minute 40.062. Keegan Masters was 0.7 of a second faster on a 139.351. So that just gives you an indication of how Masters managed to get past there. Even Lucchesi had a faster lap out there than Byron Mitchell.
So Andrew Thomas will see his blue lights flash and he'll know that Masters and Mitchell is there, as Jason Kutsia is having a fight out there with the Leighton Fourie. And that is a fight out there for 6 and 7. Kutsia 0.4 of a second there behind Leighton Fourie. And they're going to put a lap there shortly on Raymond Duggan.
Yeah, Raymond Duggan ahead of them. Raymond Duggan's had a very low-key race as well at this stage of the fight. He lost 7 positions from the start of the race, but finding himself there in that 23rd position. Let's have a look here. Where are we now?
So into that right-hander, that's the final corner there. That is Jason Kutsia making his way through, and ahead of him is Leighton Fourie. There's Fourie, there's Kutsia, that red Ferrari, and the Durant Motorsport Porsche making their way out of turn number 1, called the 90, working their way now in FC through the S's towards the back straight.
Well, Keegan Masters and Byron Mitchell upping the game here. They've gone super quick out there, even while battling. 138.955, Keegan Masters, 138.988, 300ths of a second between the two of them on the last lap.
Nothing between the two of them as they work their way now through the outer loop. Through the outer loop they go now, working their way down the carousel towards the left-hander. That takes them into the boot section. That's known as the laces. And still ahead of them to be lapped, there is Raymond Duggan.
Yeah, Raymond Duggan still hanging on there ahead of Leighton Fourie and Jason Kutsia as they work their way around Watkins Glen here. Jason Kutsia trying everything he can to try and get that position back from Leighton Fourie, but Fourie says, you're going to have to catch me first before you can even think of passing me, as we look at that Porsche of Jason Kutsia.
These boys are racing as hard as they can, and they are fighting it out there for that 6th and 7th position between Leighton Fourie and Jason Kutsia. As we have a look up towards the top of the leaderboard, there's only a second now between Keegan Masters and Byron Mitchell in that 2nd position. And they have put a lap there on Andrew Thomas. The next man that they will catch on track is the 8th car of Peter van der Spey.
I love how you say only a second between Keegan Masters and Byron Mitchell. For these guys, a second is light years. And you can see they're both weaving coming down that straight as they try to break each other's toe. And Keegan Masters, he has lost a bit of ground there as Byron Mitchell's already got it back down to 0.8 of a second.
Well, a second in motorsport is equivalent to about an hour in reality. So, yeah, that's a fact that you're stating there, FC. So, there's Luke Lucchesi in a lonely 3rd position, 6.7 seconds behind Mitchell and 5.7 seconds behind 4th place man Yuri Umpi Swart.
Yeah, Umpi Swart sitting there in that 4th place. 4 seconds down the road is Julian Familiaris in that 5th position, with Leighton Fourie in 6th place, another 4.9 seconds down the road, with Jason Kutsia not giving up just yet, trying to stick it up there with Leighton Fourie, but just not having enough pace to try and make a move.
Noor Hendricks is now going to be caught there by Umpi Swart, as we ride here with the man that's in 5th position, namely Julian Familiaris, and he is in a lonely 5th position is Julian. Corne Briet will be his next target, and there is Leighton Fourie in that 6th position, and he is still been hassled heavily there by Jason Kutsia.
Yeah, Kutsia not giving up just yet. You don't ride for Durant Motorsport and get known for giving up. He's going to put everything into that 77 Porsche to try and stick there with Leighton Fourie in the last 16 minutes of this race. It's still all-out war there. That's the only real close fight at this stage of the fight there, as Jason Kutsia and Leighton Fourie backed it out there for 6th and 7th. And then obviously at the front, between your two race leaders, Keegan Masters and Byron Mitchell.
Yeah, that's the fight for the lead, and then that's the fight for 6th position. And that's the one we're looking at now. That's the one for P6, and here comes Jason Kutsia as they head towards the outer loop. They'll tuck in there behind Leighton Fourie, working their way through the outer loop down. I still like to call it the chute because you let it drop all the way down and then turn to the left. But I see it has been renamed now the carousel as they work their way now towards the toe of the boot.
Yeah, into the toe they go, and it is Leighton Fourie that leads the two of them out there, with Jason Kutsia not letting him get away. 0.3 of a second, 0.4 of a second. That's where that time sticks out there. But at the front, it looks like Keegan Masters doing enough at this stage of the fight just to give himself enough breathing space, just to take a quick gulp of air before he loses concentration, because he's already back up to almost a second between himself and Byron Mitchell.
He's now 0.8 of a second is Mitchell behind Masters, and that's the fight we're looking at there. Keegan Masters, Byron Mitchell. Then it's a lonely drive for Pantera Racing's third place man, Luke Lucchesi, and another lonely drive here for Yuri Umpiswart, as well as a lonely race out there for Julian Familiaris, but not a lonely race for Leighton Fourie.
Yeah, Leighton Fourie would feel he's kind of being crowded here by Jason Kutsia, who's right on his back bumper. Behind them, 2 seconds down the road, Matt Shorter sits in that 8th position, with being also kind of being a bit on his own, because he's got Johan Fourie 18 seconds down the road in that 9th place, ahead of Peter Hubert another 10 seconds down the road.
And that is your top 10, with Johan Engelbrecht just outside the top 10, and then followed by 1.7 seconds behind him, Jan Spalmers. That is your top dozen, but let's have a look for the fight for the top half a dozen, and that is for the man that's in P6, namely Leighton Fourie, as Johan Engelbrecht makes his way into the pit area.
Yeah, Engelbrecht into the pit area. We also see Brad Liebenberg and Keegan Campos in the pits out there as well. But it is still this fight out here for 6th and 7th position between Fourie and Jason Kutsia, as they start catching up to the back end there of Corne Breed. Will Breed influence this race whatsoever between these two guys? It is Fourie that gets past, and he immediately opens up to allow Jason Kutsia without hindering that battle whatsoever.
Right, making their way now out of the hill of the boot is that boot that you just watched now. But here is Jason Kutsia. Listen to the sound of that Porsche all over the back of that Ferrari of Leighton Fourie is Jason Kutsia. It's a lovely howling sound by that Durant Motorsport Porsche of Jason Kutsia as he chases down Leighton Fourie down the home straight into turn 1.
Yeah, looking back towards the back end there of Corne Breed behind him in the BMW, and behind them you can see the bright blue Porsche there of Corne Breed, of Matt Shorter, who sits there in that 8th position. Matt Shorter actually starting to catch the back end of Jason Kutsia.
Yeah, it's only 1.8 seconds behind the combination of Leighton Fourie and Jason Kutsia. So if they keep on fighting each other like this, then Matt will come through. He's going to put a lap there on Corne Breed. Corne Breed keeping out the way of Matt Shorter there, that's sitting in that 8th position. And yeah, only 1.7 seconds between Shorter and the Fourie-Kutsia combo, just down there ahead of him in P6 and 7.
Oh, magic stuff happening out there. It is Byron Mitchell seems to be the man on the move now, as he's just done a 138.894. That is about 1.7 tenths of a second between them if you look at the lap time over there. But Byron Mitchell now starting to pick up the pace again.
Keegan Masters still the quickest man out there, 138.112. And then there is a 138.5 by Luke Lucchesi. And then I think the next one would be 138.6 by Byron Mitchell. Yes.
Hot stuff happening out here at Watkins Glen in the United States of America. And it is the MSA Canvas Intelligence GTE series for South African racers. Keegan Masters leads them. Byron Mitchell dropping the times down to 0.6 of a second. Then it is Lucchesi, followed by Swart, Familiaris. Leighton Ferree is now starting to pull away from Jason Kutsia, but Matt Shorter definitely on the move behind Jason Kutsia.
Yeah, he is. As a matter of fact, Kutsia closes up on Ferree once again. So now Jason Kutsia is not the only one that's attacking Leighton Ferree. Matt Shorter is doing so as well. So the comfort zone that Jason Kutsia had to go after Leighton Ferree is completely gone now, because Matt Shorter is right there on the case, not only of Ferree, but right on the back bumper there of Kutsia.
While we're watching this fight of Ferree, Kutsia and Shorter, right in between them is the other fight happening out there between Rainier Hubert and Noah Hendricks, as Kutsia goes past the likes there of Rainier Hubert, who's right on the case of Noah Hendricks.
Yeah, and they're fighting it out there for 17 and 18 position is Hendricks and Hubert, and they just got that there by Jason Kutsia and all the other guys ahead of them, namely Shorter and Leighton Ferree. So we ride aboard now with Jason. As a matter of fact, now they have got Jason's got Noah Hendricks ahead of him, so he must try and get his nose ahead there of Noah Hendricks. So it's a lovely fight there as Matt Shorter in that 8th position. So Matt has come right back into play again, right on the heels there of Leighton and Jason.
Matt Shorter says, thank you very much, I'll try and take this. But Jason Kutsia said, no, I'm getting past Noah Hendricks, and then you can only start thinking about getting past me. Matt Shorter making life very, very difficult out here for Kutsia. Kutsia thought he was chasing Leighton Ferree. Now he's given Ferree lots of breathing space, but Matt Shorter right on that back bumper. Is he going to try and make a move as they go through the S's, heading up towards the backstretch? It's that long backstretch. It goes to the outside, side by side. There's contact as they go down towards the outer loop. Will Shorter be able to stick around that outside?
Oh, I don't quite know about that. Shorter and Leighton Ferree, they are side by side. I should say Kutsia as they come through, and it's Matt Shorter that gets his nose ahead there of Jason Kutsia as they dive down the carousel into the left-hander. Down the laces they go towards the toe, and well done there to Matt Shorter.
I've said it once, I've said it before. If the outer loop definitely rewards the brave. If you can make it stick out there, not back out of it whatsoever, then you've got that inside line going into the boot section, and that's where you're going to gain the position.
Right, Keegan Masters, that's a man out there in P1. He had no idea of that fight going on out there behind him, because he just wants to keep Byron Mitchell behind him. Mitchell just under 1.1 seconds behind Keegan Masters there in that second position, and now losing a lot of ground. 8 seconds behind Mitchell is a third place man, Luke Lucchesi, and Luke Lucchesi is 6.2 seconds ahead of that man you see on your screen there, Yuri Umpiswart, who is 2.8 seconds ahead of the man in P5, Julian Familiaris.
Just looking at our biggest winners and losers so far, Peter Hubert still the biggest gainer out there, 16 positions gained since the start of this race, ahead of Jan Sparmers, who still managed to gain 11 positions. Biggest losers at this stage of the fight, Brad Liebenberg, Keegan Campos, 19 and 12 respectively. Jock Witter out of this race would have been the biggest loser. He's lost 21 positions.
Yeah, but one can effectively say that Liebenberg and Campos is definitely out of this one. They cannot possibly come back from there. So the man that can come back and who's trying to come back is the Run Motorsports Ferrari of Byron Mitchell, who is 9/10 of a second behind the man just ahead of him there, the leader, Keegan Masters. And that is that combination that you see there on your screen, going through the second last corner and then into the final corner that takes him down the home straight into turn 1, the 90.
Well, with 1 hour, 23 minutes and 30 seconds done and dusted, you'll probably find we'll do about 3 more laps in this race before we see the checkered flag. Keegan Masters leads them. He's got a 1.2 second lead ahead there of Byron Mitchell. Luke Lucchesi, 8.4 seconds down the road in that third position. with Yuri Swart another 6.3 down from Lucchesi.
Yo, it's getting action-packed out there. There's Swart. Well, that's a lonely drive for him there. It's a good comeback, though. He's gone up 5 positions, but he's sitting there in the twilight zone. But hang on, wait a minute. Here comes Familiaris. He's only 2.3 seconds behind Yuri Swart. So Julian will now be able to see, there they go. He'll be able to see Yuri in his view there, and he will think, wait 1 minute, I could maybe even have a go FC at Swart's 4th position.
Look, it's going to be very, very close. I don't see Familiaris making up 2.2 seconds in the last 5.5 minutes, but Matt Shorter might still actually be able to catch the likes there of Leighton Fourie. So Fourie in big, big trouble.
Well, Julian was 0.4 of a second quicker than what Yuri was at that point in time. So, you know what, I never count the race driver out. Oh, Johan Fourie making his way through the pit area. Was that a pit stop or was it a drive-through?
I think that was a drive-through.
I think you're quite right, because here comes Jan Sparmers. And Jan is now all over the back end there of Johan Fourie.
I could be wrong. If we can maybe get the X's
I'm
up.
guessing as well.
Yeah, we'll have a look just now to see what exactly went wrong there for Johan Fourie. But Fourie in trouble there as Jan Sparmers is backing it out there for that 11th, for 10th position. Will Fourie give it up? No, he's got the inside line to make that Ferrari stick out there. But Johan Fourie cannot be happy with how his race went as they head towards the boot.
Matt Shorter is the man that I'm looking at. He is now all over the back end of Leighton Fourie. There's a 10th of a second between Fourie and and Shorter that is in there behind him. So you wouldn't bet against Matt Shorter moving up into that 6th position.
Jy gaan aan die kortste stokkie trek as jy teen hom bet.
Yeah, let's have a look. See, that's a replay here of Jason Kutsia. Oh, onto the dirt there, mowing the lawn here
Very
at
expensive
WATKINS
lawn.
GLEN. And here he goes. Matt Shorter said you wouldn't bet against him, and Matt Shorter puts that Golf Porsche in P6 there ahead of Leighton Fourie as they head down towards the license.
Yeah, Leighton Fourie not giving up on it just yet. He's still hanging in there, but all of them have pulled away from Jason Kutsia. I think Kutsia has gone into a major session of fuel saving to try and make sure he makes it to the end of this race. But just look at this beautiful overtaking maneuver from Matt Shorter.
Right, so Matt Shorter, let's have a look and see if that gap gets bigger between Shorter and Fourie, or will Fourie keep him honest? I think Fourie will keep him honest, that's for sure, as they head now towards the exit of the hill of the boot. Yep, now they go uphill, turn left, and then work their way slightly downhill towards the second last corner.
Through the second last corner with 3 minutes to go in this race. Leighton Fourie not giving up just yet, but Matt Shorter slowly but surely starting to pull away there from Fourie as they are ahead there of Jason Kutsia and Peter Hubert. And at the front of the field, Keegan Masters driving brilliantly out there. He's got 1.8 seconds between himself and second place man Byron Mitchell.
Leon van Wyk will be in his gun sights of Keegan Masters and of Byron Mitchell, because they will have a go and put a lap there on Leon van Wyk if possible. So yeah, the time is now beginning to run out, and Keegan Masters now FC nearly 2 seconds ahead there of Byron Mitchell.
Yeah, well, there he goes, 2 seconds ahead of Mitchell is Keegan Masters with a little bit more than 2 minutes left in this race. They are in turn, Mitchell is in turn 8 seconds ahead of third place man Luke Lucchesi. That's basically the front three of your grid. That's how they started, with Masters, Mitchell and Lucchesi on the first 2 rows. But the biggest gainer from the guys at the front here is Yuri Swart.
Watch out for Familiaris. He's now only 1.2 seconds behind Yuri Swart. And as the time is running out, there we go. Familiaris, and there right in front of him is Swart. Durant Motorsport is chasing each other. It is Swart and Familiaris. And that 4th position, I don't know, but he's under serious attack here from Familiaris.
Yeah, just a second in between them, and 1 minute 28.37. I do think we... sure, I think Umpi Swart is sitting there praying that he won't have to do another lap out there once they complete this lap. But I do think that our race leaders might actually start another lap before the time runs out.
As a matter of fact, Leighton Fourie is coming back at Matt Shorter as well. He's now 7/10 of a second behind Matt Shorter for P6 and 7. And that's the two of them that's working their way out of the S's towards the backstretch. So it's not over yet for positions, as we have now less than a minute to go.
Less than a minute to go as your race leader makes it around the toe. Now going to go down the sole of the boot, heading towards the heel is Keegan Masters. Will he be able to finish just before the clock turns over? Or will he have to do another lap out in the lead of this race? Let's have a look as they go around the second to last corner. Is your race leader Keegan Masters, Byron Mitchell in second, and Lucchesi down in third.
He's making his way through that second last corner now, and he's got 10 seconds. He'll have to do another lap. I cannot see he'll get to that checkered flag before 5 seconds is up. No, the board says he's done it. The leaderboard says he's done it, and Keegan Masters is the winner here at Watkins Glen.
Brilliantly timed there for Keegan Masters, Byron Mitchell, and then 8 seconds down the road, Luke Lucchesi will bring it home. But the biggest man with the biggest smile on his face right now will be Yuri Umpi Swart, because look at that Familiaris right on his tail on the line. Umpi Swart just makes it there ahead of Julian Familiaris. Next man to come through will be the Porsche there of Matt Shorter. Brilliant drive for Matt Shorter to drive it up into that 6th place, followed by Leighton Fourie, and the next man that'll come through is the Porsche of Jason Kutsia.
Talking about Swart and Familiaris, it was 900ths of a second between the two of them. Here comes ninth place man towards a checkered flag. The Wild Rose handcrafted gin sponsored BMW of Peter Hubert, car number 777, making his way through the final corner, and he will be in that top 10. He will finish in P9.
Yeah, Peter Hubert bringing it home in P9 as he crosses the finish line now. And the next man through will be the Ferrari here of Johan Fourie, making his way around there. He was in with a shoe for at least a top 4 or 5 positions. And then that contact took him out. That's dropped him all the way down to 10th. Across the line he goes now to take 10th position ahead there of Jan Spalmers. And here comes Graham Stephen.
Yeah, and Graham Stephen will be the last man on the lead lap, as Leon van Wyk in P13 has been lapped, and everybody else from P13 down is 1 lap or more adrift.
Well. Hour and a half done and dusted. Once again, a brilliant race out here for the 2022 Canvas Intelligence MSA GTE Series. And just looking at your race results there, Keegan Masters, brilliant drive ahead there of Byron Mitchell in second, followed by Luke Lucchesi, Umpi Swart, 900ths of a second ahead of Julian Familiaris to round off your top 5.
I like when the leaderboard came up, we saw that big Watkins Glen International sign behind, because that's exactly where we are. So yeah, that is your top 3 with the Swart, Familiaris, Shorter, and Leighton Fourie, Jason Kutsia, Peter Hubert, and Johan Fourie rounding off your top 10. And the last man on the lead lap was P12, Graham Stephen.
Yeah, Graham Stephen out there in P12. Leon van Wyk, Andrew Thomas, Johan Engelbrecht rounds off your top 15 with Peter van der Spey in 16th, Noor Hendricks in 17th, Corné Breed, Renier Hubert, and Luke King bringing up 20th position.
Yeah, and then Mike Verrier, Raymond Duggan, and I think the rest you can basically say does not get classified as finishers, because some of them are 15 laps or more behind your leader.
Well, let's just have a look at looking at that board. Keegan Masters that won it. He was on 49 points going into this, down in 9th position. So that is a major step up. Keeping in mind, 30,000 Rand for the winner of the series, 20,000 for second, and then 10,000 for third. So for Keegan Masters on 49 to get a win brilliant stuff.
Well, just to interject there, we completely forgot about the winner of today gets R1,000 in pocket. So Keegan Masters, $1,000 richer.
Oh, that's R1,000 towards big bucks. Byron Mitchell that got that second position. He was in fact leading the championship on 83 going into this one. Luke Lucchese was on 74 points, just 9 behind him, and he'll now drop 10 points behind him. Umpi Swart that was down in 6th position behind Leighton Ferry. He gets himself a decent result there. And then June from the Yaris that was 2nd overall finds himself in that 5th position. And, well, with Luke Lucchese ending right up there, that two of them are going to be very, very close. FC, a closing word from your side, round number 6 from Watkins Glen of the Canvas Intelligence MSA series for 2022.
Look, after round number 5, I didn't think it could get any better, but tonight was once again a nail-biter of a race, and I can't wait for round number 7 and to see who ends up at the top of this log by the end of the championship. From my side, FC Nivote, I'll see you again in a month's time or whenever the next round is, right here from the Second Gear studio. From my side, cheerio.
Frankie, your, I would tend to agree that what said earlier on Johan Ferry, bad luck of the day, just didn't work out for him. Your driver of the day?
Difficult. My driver, very, very difficult. I would say Keegan Masters, not only because he won, but because it's the best that I've seen him do so far in this series. My closing word, I need to lie down now. It's it's been brilliant stuff. People, enjoy it. We will see you back here next week, Wednesday, for another round of the iRacing Master Series.
A big thanks to Canvas Intelligence. A big thanks to the commentary crew of the Second Gear Production Studio, FC Nivote and Frankie Yennis. From my side, Gary Fleming, thanks very much for joining us. See you soon at a racetrack. Good night, everybody.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics and engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.